Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 516. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what is going on?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about DC books we read this week. It's that simple. Coming up on this week's show, we have Batman issue 12, Absolute Superman 22, Absolute Green Lantern 17, Batgirl 22. Matt read the Deadman issue 3. We'll talk about Supergirl Survive issue 3. Matt's still reading Superman Book of L with issue 11. And we'll also talk about Peter David's Supergirl issue 3 from 1996. So that is the plan for today's show. So yeah, we'll get into everything. But I suppose I'll ask Matt, how was your week?
Oh, it's very, very busy. So I am glad to have the weekend where I can do nothing. Then I have to work tomorrow on Sunday for overtime, so that's fun. But yeah, busy. Saw the new Spider-Man, made me super emotional, so that's fun.
I'm getting conflicting reports because I saw some extreme praise, but then I talked to Tim about it, and Tim was pretty lukewarm and said he felt very similar to the last couple. So I feel like,
how'd you feel about the last couple?
More like him. So I'm
okay. Well, it's better than Far From Home, and it's better than No Way Home. It's not better than Homecoming. That said, there's stuff in it that might make it my favorite Spider-Man movie, so that's weird. But yeah, the highs are high and the lows are mid. So, suffice to say. But if you feel more like Tim, I mean, I think it's worth a theater trip. I think it's a very good Spider-Man story. So, I'm also not big on Spider-Man 2 from Raimi, which everyone keeps comparing it to. I think that one's quite overrated. But yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll cave and go see it at some point, but I'm kind of leaning towards not bothering. The last time I saw a Marvel movie in theaters was the last Spider-Man movie. So I'm kind of okay just keeping that streak going. Besides, it's breaking all sorts of records. It doesn't need me to buy a ticket.
True,
I can sit out.
But yeah, it was a fun theater experience though. So, and in fact, we went on a Sunday, which was quite late for me. We usually go Friday or Saturday night, and the early, like when I say early for me, like 11 showing was packed. Like I have not seen that in a very long time. So,
oh yeah, it broke the opening weekend record for domestic. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not surprised it was still packed on a Sunday night. Sunday
morning.
Or morning,
like
even.
It was, yeah. And which is also, I've been very spoiled by kind of empty theaters where I'm getting to see things by myself. And sometimes people forget how to act, like they're not watching at home. So, you win some, you lose some. But it was cool to hear, like when some reveals happen, it is fun to hear the audience, react to things. That's always fun. Like horror is always better with an audience. Comedy is always better with a full audience. So,
yeah, honestly, that honestly, if there's one temptation still to go see it, and I'm feeling very lukewarm about going to see it, is just the idea that the chances of me surviving whatever spoilers there are until the home release seem pretty slim. Yeah. So,
I will say this: you read comics, right? You kind of know the formula of things. So I don't want to say anything else because that might give things away.
Sure.
But you're smart. I will say that the reveal is handled fairly well throughout the movie. But yes, but there were some other reveals that had happened, some things that play out that, again, it was fun to hear the audience react similar to me instead of me just being by myself.
And I'm not even looking at social media. That's not what I think will spoil it. What I think is going to spoil it is after a week, articles on sites are just going to start openly talking about who actors are playing or whatever else it is.
There's already an interview with one of the main characters that discusses a reveal that's in the headline. Like there's not like the whole movie goes off of this reveal, but it's a pretty big part of the story and the consequences from. And that's already in headlines, and it's not even been a week since release. So yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't even know what the grace period's supposed to be anymore, because I remember when Inception came out, people weren't talking about stuff till like 3 weeks out of some things. And that was, when did Inception come out? Like 2010?
2010, yeah.
2011? Yeah. So we're talking 16 years ago. It was safe to poke your head up if you hadn't seen it. That said, it was Nolan. I saw it opening weekend.
Of course.
Right. But yeah. But I also remember, like, when it comes to Marvel movies, I remember Europe and your neck of the woods getting Winter Soldier far before we did. It was a couple weeks.
But yeah, for some reason, I mean, it changed. Probably around Infinity War or Endgame, I think it changed. But for like a lot of the first 3 phases of Marvel, we seemed to get most of them a week early. I don't know why, but we seemed to get most Marvel movies a week early for some reason.
But that one was even a couple more for whatever reason. And I just remember the Hail Hydra thing had kept under wraps within, I want to say, 16 hours of being released in the US. There were already memes going out, stuff being spoiled, headlines talking about the return of Bucky. And it's just like, guys, give people time to see the movie. Like, what are we doing? Your review headline doesn't need to be Bucky Barnes is back. I know the alliteration's great.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
jeez.
Well, that's what I always say. Is like people talk about like, you know, windows where you can just talk about spoilers. And I'm like, yeah, but you still shouldn't put them in the title. Like, obviously, no. I should have a choice, right? If I see an article that's about the Sixth Sense in 2026, obviously. I should expect there's going to be spoilers in the article. I can accept that because it's an older movie. But don't put the twist in the headline. Give me the choice to opt out. Right? Yes. It's that simple.
Yep. I remember talking about, and it was a Coen Brothers movie, Burn After Reading. And I had just watched it. And my friend immediately starts giving away the entire ending to another friend that hadn't seen it. And I was like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, that movie's been out for like 12 years. And I was like, yeah, but I just watched it like 4 days ago. He has it. Yeah, that's fine. And I was like, oh, man, give a warning.
Yeah, I know. Spoiler etiquette. And people who complain, oh, it's been over 2 weeks. So the spoilers are fair game for everything after that. I was like, shut up. There should always be an opt-out option for anyone.
Absolutely.
It's just, not everyone, like, you should be able to watch a movie from the goddamn 60s and be surprised by what's in it. Obviously, some things are just so in pop culture that it's impossible, but, like, it's a little bit of decency. That's all it is.
Imagine the review for Empire Strikes Back coming out of Luke's father is Vader, and it's just like, man, you let people experience that.
Yes. Look at me. I'm the daddy now. Yes. Yes. I've just done a bit. I've done a lot of recordings. I'm doing 3 recordings a week with David right now because he's got a slightly different schedule for a little bit, so we're getting a little ahead. I'm doubling up with Screams recordings with Tim because we're banking stuff for October. It's that time of year. Because we always have extras out in October for the horror show. But, I mean, so I've just been chock-a-block with the recordings and watching movies. Some of which have been on the painful side, some of them less so. But I don't know why you really get into any of them, but that's
you're
fine.
Good. I watched Armageddon this week for the first time since I was 12.
I watched that at the start of the year, right? Expecting to think, this will be dumb fun from my childhood. I was irritated by everything in that movie. The editing, the characters, the one-liners, everything was pissing me off.
Oh my god, there's a shot there's an action sequence where Bay has the editor switch angles 14 different times in the span of 5 seconds. And I felt like I was gonna have a seizure.
Now, it's honestly, Michael Bay characters are something that aging has completely destroyed any chance of tolerating, never mind enjoying. Because right at the start of Armageddon, I remember this very vividly. There's like a guy with a telescope watching this, the sky, and he sees the asteroid or whatever, and just the way him and his wife yell at each other and it's only like for 20 seconds. They're only in the movie for the blink of an eye. Yeah. But the way they yell at each other is like, "Oh, bitch, get me my phone," or whatever he says. I'm like, these are insufferable. All this dialogue is awful, and it's just so Michael Bay coded, and I'm just like, right? Any chance of me, like, I'm like, I remember liking The Rock. I am scared to go back to The Rock now with how much Armageddon has just tanked with a rewatch.
I still enjoy the first two Bad Boys. I feel those are still very watchable if they come across. So I'll put them on.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I kind of want to rewatch The Rock now just to see, because I remember my editing teacher in film school making fun of me and a friend for liking Michael Bay. And I was in my 20s. Right, and we're talking about Transformers and how much fun they are, and then as an adult,
whoa. What do you mean they?
Yes.
Wait, are you telling me you'd seen the second Transformers and we're still saying they were fun?
Yes. It's called denial, Pete. It's not just a river in Egypt.
Yeah, 20s were still too old for this, man. That was not an excuse. But continue.
Yes. So, and I just remember him just like roasting us for it, and then now watching Armageddon with adult eyes, I fully get what he was saying. Right, as I look back and experiencing other movies, right, over the course of my life, I was just like, oh, this was hard. This was a hard watch.
I think for what you've just admitted, you have to go watch Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen again.
No, what do you mean again? I already saw it.
Exactly, again.
No.
In fact,
I don't want to.
You should have to watch all 6 of them and report back and just explore your findings and sort of go into your feelings.
I remember going and seeing, what was it, part 5 with the Dinobots, and the Dinobots don't show up to the last like 10 minutes, and I felt ripped off.
No,
I was so mad.
That was 4, I think, was the Dinobots.
That was 4, okay.
Yeah.
God, I was so mad.
5 was the one with all the King Arthur bollocks.
Yeah, it's the one I haven't seen.
Actually,
Connor almost tricked me.
That was the one that I also hadn't seen until for the sci-fi show we finally were doing them. So that was the first time I saw that one. But
yeah. No, Connor almost tricked me with that, but I didn't fall for it because of the Arthurian aspect. He goes, at least I tried something, and I was like, okay. And then I'm like, am I really going to sit there and spend 2.5 hours watching a Transformers movie I don't really want to watch? And I didn't, and I'm happier for it. So. But yeah, Armageddon, not. 12-year-old me was dumb. Let me just tell you that.
Oh yeah, it's dog shit. Armageddon has not held up at all. It is absolute dog shit.
No.
All right.
Now I have to go back and rewatch Deep Impact because I remember being bored as a kid in the theater watching that one. Because that's much more science driven and paced out.
Well, it's more compared to Armageddon, sure, but it's still very Hollywood. I honestly, Deep Impact, I think is just okay. It's not that great either. It's far too melodramatic. It's got like this soap opera music that comes in when it's trying to
that's what I remember,
manipulate you into caring about the fact that characters are scared of dying and so on. But it's very. It's almost like a big budget blockbuster meets like a Hallmark movie. It's like somewhere in the middle of those two things is where Deep Impact lies.
Because I remember going to those movies when they came out. Because one came out, I feel like, in May of that year, and then the other one came out in July. And I think Deep Impact was first. And I remember my dad being like, "Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna go see the other one after that." So one definitely informed the other. Still, we did go because. I will say I had a lot of issues with my dad, but going to the movies comes directly from him. Sure. Right? So like, especially in the summer out here in Vegas, the air conditioning was cranking. So we had no issues going to the movies, like a matinee on a Saturday when it's 104 outside. There's not much better place to be than a big theater. So
Also, my favorite bad line of dialogue from Armageddon is when someone goes a little bit mad in space and William Fichtner with a straight face says he's got space dementia. It's not a joke. He says it as if that's a real condition.
That's the line.
Space dementia.
Fichtner was in a completely different movie. Like he is not playing along with the Bruce Willis of the situation, who I feel Willis is pretty good in it, playing Bruce Willis. Although he's supposed, so at the time, how old do you think Bruce Willis was when he made Armageddon?
Oh, like 46, I don't know.
He was 42 or 43. I forget the math.
Oh, I'm not that far off.
In my head, though, from the way his character goes on, that he's been on drilling rigs for 30 years, you're thinking he's in his high 50s.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
Right?
That means he started when he was like 10 or 11.
Yeah. And I'm just watching it, and to me, Bruce Willis has always looked the same, right? So then I started doing the math, and Die Hard came out 10 years before that. So John McClane's only 33 years old in that first Die Hard movie. That's wild to me. That's a man with some seasoning, you know?
I bring this up all the time. People always looked older back in like the 80s and stuff compared to what they do now for a variety of reasons. Anyway, let's get into the business for today. We'll start off with the Kindle rankings, formerly known as the Comixology Top 10. Matt can guess what the top 3 DC books are of the week, if you would like to.
This is cake, because there's a Batman and 2 absolutes. And I'm going to go in order that they're up on League of Comic Geeks. I'm going to go Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Green Lantern.
Yeah, it was an easy week for you. Number 1 is Batman, number 2 is Absolute Superman, number 3 is Uncanny X-Men, and then number 4 is Absolute Green Lantern. So yeah, the DC books were in that order. 5 is Fantastic Four, 6 is JSA, 7 is Mask, 8 is Captain America, 9 is Midnight X-Men issue 1, which is a new Jonathan Hickman X-Men book. And is Storm a vampire on that cover? I can't tell.
I don't see it on here, so let me look.
It's got an issue 1, I'll just be further down. And then number 10 is Amazing Spider-Man. So that rounds out the top 10. For other DC books, nothing in 11 to 15. Deadman does pop in at number 17. Supergirl Survive at number 19. With Batgirl all the way down at 22. And Book of L just behind it at 23. Shame Batgirl's under some of the minis, but
yeah,
that's about it. So hey, Batman and Absolute books sell. That's been a very consistent thing for about 2 years almost at this point. And well, Batman's always sold, obviously, but ever since the Absolutes launched, those have been alongside it.
Yeah, and it always helps when Batman, at least for me, when Batman sells, but I'm also thoroughly enjoying it. And it's just like, yes, I am not alone in this.
So a couple of quick bits of news, nothing super big here, but the Deadman book, which Matt will be talking about later, has been extended to 12 issues following fan response. So cool. If you're enjoying that, you're getting a longer book out of it.
More on that later, because there's some choices that were made in issue 3 that I'm like, I'm into this for 12 issues now.
And then the other bit of news, which isn't something we particularly cover or look at, but there's another graphic novel, young adult graphic novel series announced, Young Justice, coming from Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo, who did the Teen Titans one previously. So they're kind of moving on to a different corner of the young superhero side of things. So yeah, so there you go. That's it. Just 2 quick things. Not I have much to say about either, but keeping you informed of DC happenings and whatnot. But there you go. So we can get into the books for the week. So kicking off with Batman issue 12, Legacy number 940, Matt Fraction writing with Jorge Jiménez on the art. So the big thing at the end of the last issue was Verity Pennyworth ringing the doorbell and making her debut. And this issue delves into this, which is, I guess, basically that Alfred, for one, Alfred actually did leave some material about this. He did sort of leave it in his kind of, not his will per se, but stuff that Bruce was supposed to look through. And Ghost Alfred in his head says, "Oh, have you read all that stuff that I left you to read?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course I did." And he's like, "It's been on my desk," and I haven't got around to it yet. So he could have been prepared for this had Bruce, found time to actually read all that material. But basically it's this idea that Alfred was part of a group that was basically for people like him who helped people like Batman. So not specifically Batman, but the idea that anyone who's the person in the chair, the help for a superhero or an operative of some kind, they've got a bit of a club. And Verity was trained in such ways in this while she was younger, I guess. That's kind of the broad scope of it.
It really does feel like back from Morrison Batman, There was the Black Glove group that was kind of the evil version of this, the people behind the other people. So yeah, I like that it's playing in on that. And then it also made me think of the character The Help from the Killing Time and the Penguin, the Tom King Penguin book, that he was kind of like an evil version of Alfred. And I was like, oh, what if he came from this group and then he weren't bad, and he took all his skills. So, I like that Fraction's already made an impact here with this group.
I'm not a big fan of this group existing, to be honest. It's a bit too organized and like really, and also the fact that she already knows that Bruce is Batman feels like, wait, because I thought when this all came up, she wouldn't know that, and it'll be like sort of building up to the trust of like letting her in on the secrets or whatever. But she just she's in like the secret cave area like a few pages later, helping them with a case. So I'm like, okay, so she does know that they're Batman and Robin. There is no mystique here, and that feels a bit weird. I mean, I guess the idea is that Alfred had like a package prepared for his death, so that like she would get all this information when he dies.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I also feel like he wouldn't just tell all these secrets to someone without the okay, or I don't know. That felt a little bit, I guess, rushed for the sake of just getting things moving. It's like, oh, she's just got to know everything already. Let's just move on.
In storyline though, how long has Alfred been gone? That's my main question. Because if it's been a couple months...
Feels longer than that even, to be honest.
Yeah. Like, however long it's been, it seemed to be a while to have her show up. Right? So maybe that was just part of the vetting process of the secret order, Yeah,
but so others in the secret order know who Alfred took care of on like a secret level? That's weird.
Yeah, see, when you start picking at this onion...
Yeah, like the organization aspect of it just feels weird to me. Also, who else is in this club? I want names. What other like helpers for superheroes or similar individuals are we talking about here? Who else is in this club with Alfred?
Yeah, no one else comes to mind though, right? Like no one else really has a butler that does all the stuff that Alfred did. I mean, that was, as you said, the guy in the chair.
Yeah, not even specifically Butler, but yeah, I'm just like... I don't know who else is in this group. I don't know. It's like, it's a bit cutesy. I'm not mad at it, but I don't necessarily love conceptually either. So
yeah,
I can live with it.
I do like that she instantly starts charming Damian, right? So right there, like she's already gotten through. They're having a laugh while Bruce is talking to Alfred, which in my head I thought they were like hearing him have a discussion with himself. But going back and looking at the art, like, no, Damian and Verity are wrapped up in whatever they're doing. Because just the idea of someone hearing Bruce talk to Alfred, I think that's a red flag, Yeah,
I don't think when he's having these conversations, he's ever having them out loud. I don't think there's ever like he's talking to himself kind of weird look from anyone in any of those scenes that we've had.
It was on the panel that on the first page at the very bottom when they're, they're in the back room and Verity and Damian are on the couch. It kind of looked like they were looking at him and there were speech bubbles coming from Bruce. But yeah, looking at it again, that looks like they're just talking to one another, without. So yeah. But I was going to say, that would have been kind of funny that they just kind of shrug and that's how they're letting him deal with this.
I mean, the chemistry with her and Bruce and Damian so far is perfectly entertaining. Like, I have no complaints with that. It's just kind of all the lore as to where she came from and why she exists just feels a little bit, I don't know, maybe just not to my taste or what I would like in my story. But I mean, the actual bulk of the issue though gets into this idea that a bunch of different assassins have been hired to come to Gotham to kill Bruce Wayne. And we effectively get several pages introducing these assassins, like take out other targets. So we get this old guy who poisons this guy in the park when they're playing chess. And he's got like bubbles coming out of his mouth. And so that
was rough. Yeah. Just because the way that it happens so fast, right? The guy gives him the chess piece. He inspects it. They do this really cool silhouette panel. And then the next panel to that, he's bleeding from his eyes and has a green foam coming out of his mouth. And he's done. I was like, oh, okay. We are ramping up. This is cool.
the green silhouette panel as well. The green matches the foam from the next panel, so it's kind of an intentional little like connection between them. So this is Professor Anton Anker, der Griffmorder is the name of that assassin. They've all got like an alias and then the real name. So
this is some John Wick style stuff, and I love it. Like each of them has a specialty. And that's how you can tell the difference. This is I'm feeling like the Ojo was part of this, right? Like but yeah, we're gonna get to one of my favorite ones in a minute. I'm so excited.
So then we have like a more ninja style one who's assassinating like a fat mobster, who's Lord Phantom, real name Thomas Doynell, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So yep, he's got a creepy mask on, has a big knife. That seems to be how he does his thing. And then I guess if I was to guess which one Matt likes, maybe I'd go with the Luchador one.
Look, I've gone on record and said one of my favorite looks, and this goes for wrestling, this goes for comics, or whatever, is the Luchador in like a suit, right? So he still has the mask on, right? And but he's wearing a full suit, and it just looks cool. And it takes me back to the Club of Heroes through Morrison. You had El Sombrero, who was this, evil luchador that Batman fought in Mexico. It was super fun. And here we have King Panther, who's I guess El Santo, right? He's on the news talking about Lucha Libre and kind of breaking it down to the reader. Yeah. And Vicky Vale.
Just to be clear, you're the one in the suit is not the assassin. To be clear, right?
Yes.
He's talking to Vicky Vale about this wrestler that he's going to fight, and the wrestler he's going to fight is the assassin. Who is Sir Sueño?
Senor Sueño, which could either be Mr. Sleep or Mr. Dream.
Okay.
Right, in Spanish. So again, dope name for this guy. But the way that King Panther's talking about him, he's both doing the thing where he's talking about him in like kayfabe in the ring, but also how dangerous he is outside the ring. And then when we get to the bottom of the page, there's just a mass of dead bodies in this wrestling ring. And I'm just like, I like where this is going. And then this is the only time we get Senor Sueño in this issue. But yeah, that's that entire conversation with King Panther about him. And it really built like the mystique of Senor Sueño.
Mm-hmm. And then a movie premiere at the old theater where the Waynes visited before they got shot. We get an assassin who's posing as an usher called Vector, aka Dr. Amelia Danton, who puts scorpions in the popcorn. It seems to be the method of death here. So maybe the one who's the hardest to spot is a threat because she's a bit more unassuming, I suppose. And then after that, we get a Zeppelin. This guy's about to kill the woman that he was having like a one night stand with, but it turns out she's the assassin. She's Spider Black, aka Ludlow Durand. So yeah. So I will say, like, having like 6 pages of like 1-page introductions for 6 assassins was like, oh gee, that's a lot of pages of your 20-page comic to spend on introducing assassins. But by the end of it, you kind of get this thing where it's like, okay, back to Batman in the cave, and he's like, okay, there's all these hired guns that have came to town. Who are they looking for? Why are they all here now? And then it's kind of like, oh no, they're after Bruce Wayne. This is the the Minotaur's doing of try to get Bruce off the page. So and Batman's kind of smirking a little bit as he's realizing this. So this actually builds up to our title page. The actual action of the issue kind of comes when 2 of these assassins cross paths. The old man, the chess assassin, and the ninja assassin end up in like one of those outside elevators on a tall building together, and start fighting. And Batman comes in to break it up, and we get a kind of extended action scene here where Batman's blocking the poison from the old man. He gets burned in his hand a little bit, which makes him very angry. You get like a really cool old school angry Batman panel where he's the white eyes and the gritting teeth afterwards.
It's very Frank Miller.
Yeah, it's not in a bad way. Not in a bad way.
No. Like it definitely an homage. It feels like Dark Knight Returns era. It's kind of blocky, and you're really getting the vibe of Batman. It's like a presence of Batman more than anything.
Yeah. And the whole joke here is that he has some quick punches and whatnot, and then there's a bunch of people waiting for the elevator at the bottom. So you get this bottom panel where it's like from behind his ears as the doors open, and then you just get a full page spread of him like carrying one assassin on his shoulder and dragging the other one with his hand and saying, "Get the next one." And his like face is all in, like there's a shadow covering all of his mouth, so he just looks super imposing. And I'm like, okay, that was a fun ending. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, take the next one.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, the Minotaur is torturing someone from like one of the crime families, and we actually did miss on this was like several issues ago, but we didn't catch that someone was the Minotaur because he had 6 fingers, and we didn't catch that. So we were just like, oh, this is just a gangster we're looking at. So I was paying close attention to the 6 fingers here, which was very helpful because clearly they're making it look like the Minotaur's died here, because he gets the phone call, he leaves in his car, and then the car explodes, but then it goes back up to the window, and this guy at the window says, fun while it lasted, but if you notice, he has 6 fingers on his hand, so this is the Minotaur for real here.
Good call, Pete, because I was like, what are we doing with the Minotaur?
You didn't catch this, did you?
No. And now I'm going back and, and even the body language of the Minotaur as he's getting into the car, it looks like it's under duress, right? Just the way that he draws him, there's like a slight hesitation, and then it blows up.
This is all for show. No, Minotaur's still there, just without his mask. So do you think it was the guy that he was torturing that he put the thing on and was like, I don't know.
You're leaving now.
I feel like he'd be limping or something a bit more if it was that guy, because he looked pretty badly beat up. But
maybe.
My guess is it's just like one of the lowly henchmen who's like got in the short shaft. Hey, you're going to be the bait because someone's targeting the boss, but he's obviously not told we're going to blow up the car to just instantly make it look like a kill. But it's a fun page for sure. The reveal though is because Batman's got 2 of the assassins. He's actually locked them up in their cells because they don't have a relationship with the police right now, so they can't hand them over to them. So they've effectively kidnapped these 2 people and got them in restraints. And then Verity reveals that she's the one who caused them to target each other, because they're like, hey, what were the chances that 2 of them would end up in the same elevator? One was trying to kill the other. And it turns out Verity basically, put word out on the underweb to try and like get them to come together. And it's kind of played for a funny little moment where Damian and Bruce look at each other and say, "You can stay," as if that was actually very helpful. Although part of me, not to be too nitpicky, part of me did think, yeah, but what if Batman didn't get there to break it up? Like there'd be like at least one murder. Possibly like innocent bystanders murdered. So I don't know if it's just like a net positive that she did this.
Oh, I do think by getting them in the same place at the same time, and there's only one contract on Bruce, right? Is that they're only going to go after each other because they are trained. It's not like it's Joker that's going to take out as much collateral damage, right? To prove a point. So I kind of get where they're coming from, whether you can stay, because she got them in one place for Bruce to take care of them, versus him having to go hunt them individually.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like maybe she did. Maybe she was the one who said, hey, like these 2, this one's targeting the other one and they're likely to be in this location. Yeah. Maybe she actually pointed them in direction, but it never actually tells us that. So it kind of just feels like Batman was paying attention and saw the kerfuffle and swooped in. But I mean, maybe that's not the case. But either way, it shows that she's taking the initiative, which is something that Alfred would never have just done this on his own, right? He would never have went onto the dark web and like trick 2 assassins into fighting each other for the sake of helping Batman. He would never have went that far with it.
No, he was very reactive.
Yeah.
He's on the thing going, on the other end of the intercom or comm system, pointing out where the traffic is to Bruce, or where the assassin was last seen. So and it definitely shows like a step up in generation too,
which is not a critique per se when I say that. I'm just pointing out that this is a difference between her and Alfred, and I do wonder if it does lead to her going too far at some point, if that's going to be a plot beat that we go down because she's too eager to get in and do, take the initiative in ways that maybe do mess something up in the future, or if this is purely a positive thing of like, no, this is like Alfred, but she does get her hands dirtier in the sense that she gets things set up and she does stuff. Maybe I guess you could argue this was a little bit more Oracle-esque in what she did here.
Well, I was going to say this. What she seems to do seemed a lot more of Barbara's style, by doing the whole bait and switch type stuff. She says, went on the dark webs, did a cutout, what she say, a cutout identity and all that. And I was like,
This feels very Oracle, now that I'm thinking about it. So, and then the final scene, which is very separate from everything else, is we go back to Joker and his tank at the towers, and we get like basically Joker's computer screen saying who's there, hello, as if something's like there with him. And there's just like, these speech bubbles that aren't going anywhere. They're just on their own saying, guess who? I'm here. That's all that matters. I'm not going anywhere. And then Joker's computer, text says, well, that's a relief. I'll be sure to tell Dr. Zeller when I let her know you dropped in. You realize, of course, I must tell her you stopped by. And then the voice doesn't respond. And he just keeps saying hello, over again a few times. And then the final page is just him alone in the tank as the computer screen now starts saying, ha, ha, ha. So this other voice that was talking to him, I have to assume is like the real crazy side of Joker coming back.
Yeah.
Which I think works for a scene. Like, I think the scene itself is quite effective. I would say, though, that this feels like we've barely had this Joker version in a tank who's supposedly okay and like not crazy anymore. Maybe it feels a little bit quick to already be teasing that the real Joker crazy version's coming back. I don't know. Yeah,
which would also show that Dr. Zeller's process isn't fully perfected.
Sure, which is fine, and obviously, real Joker, or he was always going to become Joker again. That was never going to be lasting for sure. But I did think it was going to be a longer thing than this before we started teasing him going Joker again.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a surprise there. I will say, so everything in this issue, I'll own some nitpicks which I've brought up with maybe some of the Verity backstory feeling a little bit. I don't know if even contrive's the right word, but the whole organization thing just feels a little bit too cute to me. But everything in the issue is sort of good standalone wise. Like, it's a lot of good scenes. I do think it's kind of a weaker issue overall, though, and I don't think a lot of it really necessarily fits together that much. Like, the opening, the Verity side of things, and then the assassin side of things, and then this Joker kind of couple of pages. I don't actually feel like any of this stuff necessarily needed to be together, or especially this Joker thing at the end. It just feels like out of nowhere we go to the Joker. I don't even know if thematically this ties into anything from like the rest of the issues. So it doesn't feel like it's like because some of the issues of this run have been so good at feeling all thematically linked, to feeling like everything belongs together in the same issue, to feeling like there's a beginning, middle, and end to the issue. Whereas this issue feels a lot more like fractured to me, where it feels like a lot of separate things that are bundled together. And there's been one or two like that, but this one feels particularly egregious to me, where it just kind of feels like a series of different things that need to happen for the next part of the run, I guess. Yeah,
it feels like a table setting.
Yeah.
Like, this is where all these are, Minotaur has escalated the gang war right now because they think they got him, but he's, in hiding, not hiding, but he wasn't taken out with a car bomb.
Yeah, he's faked his death, or whatever, effectively.
Right? You have all these assassins still coming to Gotham, right, to get Bruce Wayne. You have Joker still hanging out there. We don't know where Dr. Zeller is, right, because we haven't seen her in a minute. And then we got we know we have Bad Seeds coming down the line, right? So there's also that stuff. So I'm wondering if this is like a table setting to put it into a holding pattern for a second while they get through that. Because we know Fraction and Wilson are working on the Bad Seeds thing together with Tamaki. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this is even related to the fact that Bad Seeds is coming, but maybe it is a case of, hey, he wants all these things in place before that so he can hit the ground running with other stuff afterwards, or maybe some of this is relevant to the middle of Bad Seeds, who knows. But I just don't think it's as strong as an issue overall, because it just feels like it's a little bit more like just a bunch of different things all been lumped together, as opposed to something that feels thematically all coherent as one kind of idea that all comes together. So yeah, by the way, it sound too harsh. I mean, and the art's still obviously very good from Jiménez. It's, you know, it's bright, it's vivid. We talked about the fight scene in the elevator obviously being the standout action set piece of the issue for sure. The assassin introductions have got some variety in them, but it does feel like, yeah, like a lot of individual parts as opposed to like a whole. So
yeah. So checking is the Bad Seeds does start next month with Batman 13. So I wonder why we couldn't hold off on this. I don't know if they had to pay off the Verity part. Because if you know you're going into this 2-month crossover, it feels weird to set the table with this issue.
I mean, I think the Verity stuff needs to be there, but it could have been just that, like just focus on Verity and like her first intermingles with with Batman and Robin. But yeah, I mean, this other stuff, I guess he wanted to tease for the time being. I mean, maybe some of this stuff will prop up in Bad Seeds. We don't know how.
While that's going on, he's trying to deal with that too.
Yeah, we don't know how intermingling it's going to be with what the current run's been. But I mean, Fraction's like one of the head writers on it, so it might still have some of his stuff in there. So, but I don't know.
Even that said, for as haphazard as this is, it was still a fun read. You know, I still like seeing all the assassins. The Joker stuff I thought was really, that's where it gets me. Because we know I'm a Joker skeptic. But him floating in that tank, talking to nobody, you know, we can't see. Or if it was somebody, right? Because we're assuming that it's his mental, you know, the evil version.
Yeah. I mean,
but maybe someone did sneak in and was talking to him, you know? Who knows?
I mean, that would actually be more of a twist, to be honest, if they said to me there was actually someone else who was speaking to him, because the way it's presented, especially with him doing the laugh at the end, just feels like, no, this is just the real Joker coming through. Like, whatever's keeping him at bay is finally starting to wear off, and a little bit came in there. So, it's not a bad issue by any means. It's just not as good as most of the other issues, and I think that's, you know, fair to say. So, what are you giving Batman issue 12?
I'm going to give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I don't know if I can call it great, so I'm going to go with a nice solid 7 out of 10 for this one. I think it's just a little bit too disjointed for me to go higher, but everything in there is solid enough on its own terms. So there you go. Absolute Superman issue 22, Jason Aaron writing with Juan Ferreyra on the art. So we are on to a new arc, as it were, and it kind of starts us off in the midst of things with Superman has tracked down, he was looking for Brainiac, but instead found Metallo in this case being the former Peacemaker, Christopher Smith. His entire blood has been replaced with kryptonite, or, well, maybe not replaced, but he's got kryptonite blood now. It's in his blood.
Yeah, man, that was a fun absolute universe twist where he's no longer the man with the kryptonite heart. He's got the kryptonite blood is pumping through him. And I was like, okay, we're taking this up. That
goes through, I mean, blood goes through the heart, so it's not, you know, a million miles away.
Yeah. I just, it was that thing of adding that to there. I was like, oh, okay, so you can't even, the more Superman hits him and the more he bleeds, the worse he's off. Like, that adds a thing. Yeah, well, it's not a degree of difficulty.
It's also that thing where at one point he spits his own blood back at Superman, and that hurts him because it's kryptonite blood. So they use it in a couple of different ways, and obviously our big change here is that Brainiac made Metallo, right? It was kind of like, oh, you've been useless, so I'm going to make you slightly less useless and turn you into a killing machine. And we get little flashbacks to this throughout as the fight's happening, because it is mostly a fight. It's, you know, Superman feeling weak because of the kryptonite, being thrown through things, set on fire. He doesn't even realize it's Christopher Smith until some fire actually gets rid of some of the armor and he can see his face. So there's a lot of trying to appeal to him, try to remind him of who he is. And we get little flashbacks to when Smith first did a mission as a peacekeeper. You know, some of the propaganda that he's been fed, and some of the darker backstory about, you know, the fact that his father was like a mass shooter, I think, was the implication.
That's what yeah. They said that he took a gun into a synagogue, and they play that throughout the issue, they kind of keep that until the last memory.
Yeah.
that we go back through because they're talking about his dad and his mom, and Brainiac's constantly telling him, "You're not Christopher Smith. You're Metallo. And what is your name?" And every time that he says he's Christopher Smith, he buzzes him or whatever, and he's just breaking him down. And then when it gets brought up that no, your dad took a gun into a synagogue and was a mass shooter, and he joined the peacemakers to make up for that, right? Like he wanted to bring peace so much that he would kill for it, And it was just like, oh man, dark.
Yeah, and then the other thing is Superman keeps saying you're Christopher Smith, and he's like, no, I'm Metallo, but we keep getting these flashbacks of Brainiac saying, you're not Christopher Smith, you're Metallo. And obviously the payoff to that is at the very end when he finally breaks down and says what his name is, because it brings up his mother and the fact that his mother died whilst he's been away, right? It was after his funeral. Superman saw his mother at the funeral, lied to her effectively to make her feel better. Later on when she was dying, because he went to visit her when she was sick and she thought it was her son, so he just pretended to be Christopher Smith and said that he loved her, and she said she loved him, and it's kind of that finally wakes him up, because he's like, oh, the name my mother gave me was Christopher Smith, so he finally says that's his name at the end. So yeah, it's a kind of emotional kind of through line at the end. A lot of the issue though is the fight. It's the punching, it's evil Brainiac looking on like a demented Joker, it's the green veins on Metallo / Smith's head kind of like pulsing as he looks kind of maniacal.
Yeah, it's taking advantage of Ferreyra's style that can get kind of grotesque. Yeah. Right? So the longer the fight goes on, the more both Superman and Metallo start to look worse for wear. And just like when there's this really fun page, it's a double page, it's kind of at an angle. Right, and you can follow the action through the panels, and by the end there, there's another double page spread that is Superman and Metallo fighting, but it's in their outlines.
Yeah, in the silhouettes, effectively. Yeah, their bodies make up the panels.
But in those panels, man, they are worse for wear. Right, like they are looking rough. But I want to also point out on that double page spread, the first one that's kind of at an angle. When Superman's standing in like the storm drain, it makes an Omega symbol, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's interesting,
right? Like constant reminder of the absolute universe. So,
there's actually
it was a really.
There's a section in the middle where Smith actually kind of dies, and Superman has to give him CPR to bring him back up, which works, and he's very relieved. But then Metallo just immediately starts hitting him again, which I thought was quite funny. However, I will say, like, Ferreyra's art's great, and I think Metallo looks great. I think his Brainiac is brilliant. I think his Brainiac looks fantastic. My only small critique is that there is a couple of panels here or there where Superman's face, by comparison, it's almost like a rush job where he's just done like a really simple flat face. The one where it's actually just when he gets into cardiac arrest and there's that thought bubble from Superman saying his heart stop, I have to do something. His face in that, like, the panel otherwise looks really good and detailed, but Superman's face just looks so simple and flat to the point where it feels like a little bit rushed. And it's not like a constant thing throughout the issue by any stretch. It just kind of feels like there's so much detail to do on Brainiac and Metallo's faces that it feels like Superman's getting a little bit of a rush job by comparison.
And because when you look at him, a lot of it there, Superman's pretty detailed throughout. But it's just that one panel I'm going back and looking at. Because I was like, oh, maybe Superman's a lot in shadows. But no, it's mainly that one that looks flat. It almost looks like a face you put on a stick figure. Yeah.
I mean, later on in the issue, there's panels where the shadows covering half his face and there's some blood drips on him, and he looks good. Like, the art looks very good. But just a couple of panels, it looks like a little bit too simplistic compared to everything else, which looks great. Because everything else looks moody, and there's a lot of shadows and stuff. And
lots of green, too, because of the kryptonite.
Yeah. And Brainiac.
In there.
He's green, too.
Brainiac.
Yeah. So, I mean, Brainiac actually shows up and says, oh, well, Metallo's a disappointment. Oh, well. And Superman's so beat up and he's so weak from the kryptonite at this point that he can't chase after him because he wants to, but he's like, I just can't. Like, it's just not happening. I'll have to find him again later. But I do appreciate there's those little moments where when they're fighting and like the clouds part for a second, so he gets a little bit of sunlight and it kind of rejuvenates him for just a touch. It plays with all the tropes that you could see them doing. But it is, it's a nice moment though at the end when like after he's like said who his name is and Brainiac's disappointed and he leaves, Superman just turns around and says you're not alone, and the final page is Superman hugging the now just weeping Metallo in his arms, which it's kind of gorgeously outlined because it's kind of at the end of a sewer, so they've got a circle around them of light and then the reflection of them in the sewage water at the bottom, which sounds disgusting, but it was very pretty on this last page.
Yeah, and it's him fully hugging him, knowing like this man makes him sick the closer that he's to him. But Superman wants to show that he's not alone. He fully embraces him, which again, that's the core of what makes Superman work. So that's a really nice, here, still proving that Superman can't make a full enemy, right? Because he's redeemed Ra's. It seems like Brainiac's the only one, which now makes me so worried for Lex Luthor in this universe. Because we still haven't seen what's happened to Lex since Chainsaw Man version of Brainiac showed up at the barbecue. I
mean, if Brainiac turned Smith into Metallo, now maybe it'll just be like a series of different Metallos with different kind of gimmicks. But maybe Brainiac's going to turn Lex into something else. Like maybe Lex will be Cyborg Superman on this Earth or something, because it's just going to be more stuff that it's Brainiac, like a mad scientist, tinkering with people and trying to turn them into the ultimate villain.
I'm so worried, right? Like for poor Lex here, and and that was the whole thing with Metallo and Christopher Smith, is that when he was shot in the head by Ra's, it was the kryptonite bullet that got into his brain and started to affect his blood, and that's why Brainiac's able to do this experiment on him and turn him into Metallo, right? So it even takes it back to there. But we've seen with Superman with Ra's and Metallo, Parasite, King Shazam to not as much of an extent, but seemed like he was getting through a little bit, but he just has this effect on people where he comes out of them with full compassion. Yeah,
that'll be the hopeful side to this. If like everything Brainiac throws at him, Superman's able to try and find their humanity again. But maybe that'll be the tragedy of Lex, is that Lex will be so broken by the murder of his family that he's too far gone and he can't come back. So that they could do a number of things with that, which could be really cool. I think this issue is very good. I think it's a little bit weaker on the King Shazam issues. Maybe just because it is mostly a fight with some little snippets. And don't get me wrong, those snippets are effective, and I think the ending does land. The emotion is there, the Superman compassion is there. But it is like, we start the fight on it, page 1, and the fight's basically going until like almost like the second or third last page. So it's a lot of fighting throughout, and it's a good fight, and there's good bits in there to try and break it up and try and do different things with it. But ultimately, it is a lot of fighting with not a lot of setup to begin with. So I think inherently, it's just not as fulfilling as perhaps like those last couple of King Shazam issues were, because there was even though that last issue was also a lot of fighting, it'd been set up. There was a lot more build up to it, and there was a lot more big and epic. Whereas this one, it kind of feels like, even though we do have some context for who Smith is, obviously, it just kind of like, we're just going to have a fight issue again, and that maybe that's partly why it feels like it's just a fight issue again.
Yeah, because through the King Shazam stuff, we had the setup with Hawkman, right, and all of that type of stuff to go with it, and we could play off of him. So if we needed a break from the fighting, we could focus in on whatever Hawkman was up to at the time, the lead up to it. Same with Steel, right? This just being Superman, Brainiac, and Metallo, I think gives it a lot less to work with. Yeah. But I just looked at the next issue, and it's Ferreyra again.
That's cool.
So it looks like, we're getting more. Yeah. So curious to see where that goes.
This is part 1 of an arc, even though it feels fairly self-contained. The arc is called Get Brainiac, so it does feel like we're going to be on a trail to Brainiac, and maybe there'll be a different threat each time. But there's very little like Jimmy or Lois or anything like that in this issue, so I wonder if those will come back into it, or if this is going to be more of like a Superman on a mission kind of arc the whole time. Yeah, because the beginning mentions that Superman is down in Argentina because Jimmy and the Omega Men have been sifting through files, right? And they had found this one Lazarus office or lab or whatever in Argentina. Well, so that's what Superman's down there. Yeah, those files are basically because of the Lazarus Corpse kind of falling apart. All of their documents have been unleashed. So, he's been looking into them for sure. So,
right. So that's what leads Superman down there, and that's where he finds Metallo
mhm.
in this, old one. So, so they're still reminding us there. I'm here to see if we get an update on Lois and what she's up to at the Smallville Gazette.
Yeah.
If she's covering any of this. But no, I had a lot of fun with this one. It's good to see Ferreyra. Curious to see more of his Brainiac because he gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
I don't like looking at him.
I mean, I loved those two Hawkman fight issues that he did.
Yeah.
Like Ferreyra does do the action wonderfully, so I'm not mad at more of it. It felt like maybe, if anything, after those King Shazam issues, maybe this should have been like a more slower paced issue before we get back to fighting, and maybe that's why it feels really noticeable that it is mostly a big fight again. So, but still good. I still think it's very good though. Just not maybe the best that the books had either. So, yeah, good stuff. All right, we give an absolute Superman.
I'm gonna give this a straight 8 as well.
Yeah, I think I'll give this one a straight 8. I think this one is I think it's more satisfying and more coherent than Batman was. So cool. Absolute Green Lantern, issue 17, Al Ewing writing and Sid Koshin on the art. I like things in here, but I gotta be honest. Yeah. I'm starting to really lose what's going on.
Which book did we just get that gave us a recap page?
It was Darkness of Steel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we get a recap page? Because there's too many concepts going on here. And now we're splitting the yellow to the gold as well.
Yes.
And I need a reminder of what the different levels are, because look, I can handle all the different color core. They've been with us for 20 years now, right? I get that. And now Ewing is changing them for the absolute, and that's fine. I have a handle on the red, the gold, the green, the black. However, now we're starting to do these other things, and there's just so much that he's throwing at us that it's hard to remember all the things that I need to remember to make the story click. Because I still, like you said, I enjoy things that are in here. I like the way the story takes a turn, and we get the Jessica reveal and how that plays out, and we get her origin in this world. Yeah, the origin obviously makes decent amount of sense. It's similar to what happened in the regular universe, but not exactly the same. The thing is though, is if I missed something with Jessica, because I feel like we just got the reveal last time that she was going to she was in there, and it sounded like she was going to stop Joe from doing something. And then here, when they show up, Joe and Jessica just kind of come out, and Jessica's there to help. It feels like, wait, did something change here that I've misunderstood? Because the way that they wrote it for the cliffhangers, I think I'm on Sinestro's side, right? That's what it felt like, yeah. Right. Yet when we see her here, she is working against Sinestro. So I want to know what happened. So no, you didn't miss anything, because I'm in the same boat where I was wait a minute. I genuinely felt like I missed an issue when they showed up, and wait, because Joe's oh yeah, we've been talking about ideas, and I'm have you? Friendly chat? What? Because it felt like Jessica was set up to be an antagonist at the end of the last issue. I thought so. That was very strange. There's also some backstory for Sinestro, and how he kind of became the controller of Mu. And I like that because in this version of Korgar, they don't have really identities, right? So he takes a name, which means student. So he's become a student of the yellow or the gold light, but he didn't like how passive it was, which leads him to create this Manhunter suit so he can take full control, and that's what makes him the full controller. And yeah, so I like all that. That gels with Sinestro that we're familiar with and changes it ever so slightly with the new rules. I wish we could get more of it though. I felt like with all that stuff that was super interesting of him breaking from it kind of just gets breezed by to keep the story going. Yeah, also, one, he seems dead by the end. It seems like Joe shoots him in the head, and then Tomar comes in and finishes him off because he wants revenge. But I like that they suggest that basically Mogo is not inherently bad. He's just been manipulated by the controller of Mu. So the dark energy. Yeah, so Jess is the one who kind of is able to go full
ideas, and sort of like basically we see the green light go around the dead planet of Mogo, which is all skeletons and desert, and kind of restores life, restores the green, where trees are forming, everything's forming, and it looks more like a planet, and you get the big Green Lantern symbol appearing on it, and it's become more like the Mogo that we think of, so it's not going to be killing any more planets anymore. And I'm like, okay, I like the visual of this, and I like kind of what's happened here. But I feel like, again, it's just like you just brought up like a page or two ago that maybe Mogo was manipulated into like what it's been. I feel like there's more to explore there before we fix it. I don't know, like some of these ideas feel like they're so big, but they also are getting thrown at me so quickly that it's hard to kind of comprehend them in a reasonable way.
Absolutely, and I do like though that they tie around. And this is what we're talking about, where there are pieces that I like because in Justice's backstory, right, that we get they're heading to Vegas from their town. That's that's been the Green Lantern had visited, right?
Evergreen.
I forget the name of it. Evergreen. Thank you. And then some random person, they stop to see if he needs help. Shoots her boyfriend, right? And then that makes her afraid to go outside, and that's where she becomes agoraphobic. Where we see from June 2021 to January 2025, she's just been inside. And she's been talking on the phone with, I think, her mom, right? And that she misses going outside, the forest and the deserts, and but it's safe in here. This is where I'm in control, which again goes in with what she was seemingly talking about Sinestro, right? At the end of the last issue, is like, but what if I'm on his side? And then when she uses her power, because we find out that she's also an anomaly, right? And she uses that anomaly power to reinvigorate Mogo and bring back the forests and the deserts and all the stuff that she had missed on Earth to Mogo. Which again, I like all of that, but it feels very rushed through.
Because
all of that.
Well, I like the whole thing about like the incident, with their boyfriend getting shot. It's like they basically like they're driving and they see someone stopped. And this killer actually kills someone in this other car, and then turns and sees them as witnesses and starts blasting. So anyway, he started blasting, and like the boyfriend or the friend, whoever he is taking a bullet to the head, and this is what makes Jess. She's like, oh, this guy might find me. He might know the car, even though it was his car, and I can't go outside. And that time passes, and we see that it's been like 4 years, 5 years. She's been trapped inside of her own doing until one day Abin Sur shows up. And changes everything, right? Takes her because she's living in Evergreen, I assume. And that's that, right? So she ends up inside the lantern, and it's like, okay, like again, conceptually, I'm digging what we're doing here, but it does feel like it's been too vague about some things, but rushing through some bigger ideas. And I think this issue is the one where I really started to kind of feel that disc, because this is supposed to be the end of something. This is supposed to be the end of the Mogo threat, and I still feel like I didn't quite understand all of it. So I don't really feel like it was a finale in the way that it wants me to feel.
Yeah, it feels like pieces are missing still.
Yeah,
because there's all that stuff too, because he starts talking in the very very first page. We get all the different colors on the inside of the ring, right? And it's talking to him. It says, I am Oa, and then Mu, right? So it is both. And then, but what you're looking at is just the outside. I'm not a circle. I'm the ring. Look inside, and it has all the different colors.
Which I did like that. I like this idea that white circle in the darkness we've been seeing just kind of like turns, and we see that it's actually a ring, and then it makes up all the colors that we've been seeing. I'm like, okay, I actually kind of like that. That's a ring.
Yeah. And we get little seeds of it throughout, but there's still, I feel like sometimes it's too much, but it's also not enough, weirdly. So, yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. And then there's an epilogue at the end, which basically says the Black Star programs were interrupted because, because of what's happening with Mogo and all that. They've kind of convinced some of the Black Stars to stand down. So we see this computer text say, that's interrupted. It's starting something else. Track error. Almost as if Sinetro's still alive as a computer rather than just his body. And we see, now remind me, because I've forgotten completely this little story they did. Is this Lady Blackhawk that was on the other planet?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So she's in there. Yeah, she's in there with this, big manhunter head, which might just be Sinestro in computer form. It's hard to tell at this point. But the reveal here is that Simon Baz, who ceased from existence because he saw his own reflection, has somehow ended up in here with her, and now he's got his face exposed because now it doesn't matter, I guess, because he's already had that happen to him. So he's like, bring me up to speed, and I'm like, Jesus, Simon, I wish someone would. I wish someone would, because it just keeps getting weirder. Maybe a little too weird at this point.
Yeah. I remember when I was reading The Immortal Hulk, there were moments like this.
Yes, I remember that too, yeah.
I was like, what the hell is going on? And eventually it does pay off, but it's very frustrating as you're trying to put it together. Because I was like, again, I know I didn't miss an issue. So why do I feel like I'm missing pieces of the story?
Yeah, because it's a sad thing, but it does mirror Immortal Hulk, where that was a really cool book, right? The atmosphere was fantastic up front. The story being told was really good. Arguably even better than Absolute Green Lantern was, I think most people would even say. But once you got about maybe 20 issues in, and we're not far off from that now with this is issue 17, it definitely started having like weird turns and weird arcs that were to the point where I think by around issue 30 I kind of dropped that book and I just never went back. I intended to, but I just never get around to it, and it's because I felt weirder about it after a certain point, even though it started so strong for the first few arcs. I'm a little bit worried that I'm starting to maybe go that same way with Absolute Green Lantern. Like, I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, but
no,
it does feel like,
again, I still like a lot of the ideas, I can follow along there, but like wherever, I don't remember Lady Blackhawk and that thing as clearly because it happened like 6 issues ago.
Yeah, somewhere.
Right.
It was,
and there's been no touch of it since.
Yeah, it was in between two other arcs or something like that. Yeah, it was like a fill-in issue. Well,
so
not really, because it's obviously going to build to something, but it felt like a fill-in issue.
So like DC, Al Ewing, if y'all want to put a recap page that kind of summarizes all that stuff that would help keep it in order, I think that would help, because there is a lot going on. That said, a lot of the cool stuff, like her, like Joe using Tomar Ray as the bullet, right? That gets fired into Sinestro.
Yeah.
Because he can shape change. I thought that was really cool. And
because you get the
that was for my mom.
You get the big like the close up of the bullet, and he's got like the smile on it or the teeth on it. Got some attitude.
I like that because so mostly we talked about guns and ammunition, and he just says bullet and is being fired. I was like, okay, that's really cool, and that's what goes in. And then I'm wondering if that's where the error comes from at the end, because we see just this big red like circle in the Sinestro Manhunter armor that says error that sends that. So I'm wondering if that has to do with, he was taken out by the anomaly. This is like a kill switch kind of thing. And now that's what's leading back here. I wish I could say with more clarity, because I don't even know where Lady Blackhawk is. Who's the big face? Is that the big Manhunter type thing? Is that where that's going to?
I mean,
and why the hell is Simon there if he ceased to exist?
Well, she was on a planet, and I think she used the what do we call it? The thing that Adam Strange uses to move from planet to planet.
That's right. The beam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
used to know it. My brain's mush.
Yeah. She used that and that
Zeta beam.
Zeta beam. That's it.
Nailed it.
And she ended up there. I think that's where she was left off at the end of that.
Okay.
But that's like, that's all I can tell you. I couldn't tell you why she was on the run at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I've forgotten all that. So
and then they also do some stuff with John being passive, but then he realizes like, yes, well he his move set, if you will, doesn't allow for a lot of physical stuff. He can go mental. So he's the one that kind of gets Sinestro off his game by grabbing him like from behind and doing like a mind meld thing where he enters Sinestro's mind. And that gets him enough that, Joe can come and pop him, with Tomar Ray bullet. So, so again, there are progression for a lot of our characters. Just plot wise, I'm feeling a bit murky. But all the character stuff I'm really enjoying with Joe and Tomar Ray and the concept of the anomalies. That's what they're bonded by, you know?
Yeah, I definitely like the book more when it's on Earth. Like I definitely like it when it's dealing with Joe and Cameron's relationship, or it's dealing with like, you know, in the first arc with Hal was going around with the Black Hand stuff.
Yep.
Like all of that is more compelling to me. I think once we get into space and it's all just the concepts and nothing but the weird concepts, it starts to just feel a bit too much. So hoping that we get a bit of a reset with issue 18, but
yes.
What do you give an absolute Green Lantern 17?
I'm going to give this a very messy 7.
Yeah. I'm going to go 6.5, I think. I think I'm just a little touch lower than that. So there you go. That's absolute Green Lantern. Batgirl, issue 22, legacy number 227, Tate Brombal writing with Steven Segovia on the art. So this is the final part of this 3-part arc, which is Dr. Forget-Me-Not's got Cass in a, you know, what do we call it? A trance, I guess, hypnosis.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's trying to figure out this murder. Now, the end of the last issue clearly implied that Cass herself killed Victoria, the other girl from her past. But she's going to spend this issue trying to deduce if that's true and what really killed her, if that's the case. And a bit more lore and backstory in this idea that basically Dr. Forget-Me-Not and David Kane effectively had a bet of like whose like project was working better, like, you know, which girl assassin was more effective. So they had them competing. And effectively, yeah, the girl Victoria ended up just being killed by her target when she was sent out to kill someone at the age of 8. And Forget-Me-Not's been trying to convince Cass that she's behind it all. But there's some heart in here as well, which I really liked. Two things I quite liked is that basically at one point Cass, because her kind of weakness in here so far is this idea that she couldn't read and talk or write when this all happened, so she couldn't understand anything anyone was saying, but she basically finds the willpower to be like, no, I remember what they said now and I can talk now, so I'm going to understand them. So that lets her kind of re-examine things a little bit. But the thing I really like is this idea that no matter how many times Victoria had her mind wiped, because that's what kept happening. She kept being wiped with new personalities every time. That's what Forget-Me-Not was doing with his hypnosis. Yep. She still befriended Cass every single time. And that's kind of why David Kane was saying, hey, your project's a failure, because she seems to keep remembering Cassandra. But it was kind of this sign that, one, maybe, it wasn't working entirely, but it was kind of a sign that, no, this friendship was going to happen no matter what, which is kind of sweet.
Yeah. And from David Kane's side, it's like, well, no, she's supposed to be just a living weapon. No one's supposed to like her, right? Why are they befriending each other, right? So they're looking at it as both failures. So this is why Forget-Me-Not blames Cass for the death of Victoria.
For humanizing her.
Because they kept pushing things. Yeah. Also, once we see the friendship aspect, I realize how much Victoria here kind of reminds me of Steph, right? With the blonde hair. And the kind of the thing is like, is this why Cass was drawn to Stephanie Brown so much? Because there's a part of her that remembers this girl, and that was her first friend, right? And that's what has driven her towards that friendship and whatever. So I also liked it on that level. But yeah, that whole thing of them, there's that page of like Victoria hugging her and her being surprised, right? They're in the geese on the top of there. And just the look on the face, the art is really doing a lot of it here. You know? But yeah, I really love this aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the heart of it, and this idea that they kept forming this for, even though both their, you know, quote unquote fathers, because Forget-Me-Not wasn't actually a father, but, you know, effectively he was, is this idea that they were trying to, like, basically not have them be little girls, and they just kept finding a way to do that anyway, despite them. Not even intentionally, just because naturally that's what's going to keep happening, because they can't take that away from them, not entirely. And it's, you know, it's kind of a heartwarming tragedy to it. And yeah, we find out the body they found at the crime scene isn't even really her. This is just another random corpse that Forget-Me-Not dressed up and did some, setup with.
Yeah, because he was going to get his revenge on Cass no matter what, right? And that's what we find out too. Is like, oh no, he put those things in there so he could do this later, but he's going to do it regardless.
Yeah,
you know. And then the hint that, Victoria could still be out there somewhere. So I did like that little hint.
Yeah, is she even dead? Maybe that's something Brombal's going to bring back later in the run, is maybe she is out there somewhere, which would be interesting. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing where Bronze Tiger like finds Forget-Me-Not in like the bunker area and like, beats the crap out of him and talks to his son about the fact that, hey, this is why I was so protective of keeping you on the farm, like, because I knew how Cass had it growing up, and I was getting brainwashed as well, like as an adult down here, and it was miserable. So it feels like Tenji kind of understands his sister a little bit better after hearing some of this backstory stuff that maybe she hasn't spoken about too much. But no, Cass does go full Batgirl inside the hallucination and grabs Dr. Forget-Me-Not, which is satisfying, kind of punches all the flowers away. So he's kind of, it's basically like she's decapitated him, but it was just flowers, so it's okay. So it doesn't feel that violent. It just feels like, a representation of like the victory, if you will.
Yeah, and it's too that she grabs him, right, which is something that she could not do, right, because she had no control in this realm, and grabs him by the collar and lets him know that I'm not a weapon. So it's almost like it's that revelation that I'm not a weapon. That's almost what does the head going away. Like, he has no more power control here, because I don't even see like a fist landing, right?
That's
just
true.
The body that's missing the flower heads.
That's true.
So it's almost like she broke this reality. He can't be here anymore.
Yeah, and then she wakes up on the next page. Like, there's the top panel on the next page where she starts gasping for air, and they're like, "Oh, Batgirl's awake." So it's a big thing. And then she, does hit him a bunch of times for real. So that's fun.
Kicks him, round kick right to the head. Like, get him, Cass.
Yeah. He does try to brainwash Tenji a little bit, but Cass just quickly snaps him out of it.
she hits him in the back of the neck with a chop, and that snaps him out, which I did like. Yep.
A couple of epilogue stuff at the end. Jaya's talking to someone. Basically talking about
mask?
what she's doing, and this person in a mask, which makes me wonder, is Jaya got ulterior motives, or is this just her reporting into someone that she wants to, for herself? But it does feel like it's setting something up. And then Gordon talks to Cass about how, okay, they've caught this guy. The Vandal Savage's police force are going to take credit for solving a murder here, even though it has nothing to do with them. But they're never going to give you credit for it. So yeah, but it's the kind of nice seeing them kind of talk to each other, like, because obviously Gordon talked to Batman a lot, and he's talked to his daughter a lot. But it's kind of nice where like Cass is the Batman here, where she's just like one word, like he's like, like Savage is already like building a success story out of this for the press, and Cass just says Gotham, and he's like, yep. They get each other. They just get each other really easily, which is really nice. So
then I do like how the friends are standing in the shadows, right? So it's not quite a Batmaning, right? Because Gordon turns and leaves, but Bronze Tiger and J Tiger and Jaya are all there, and that's where we find out that maybe they call Victoria Paper Doll. So that's a good name for that character, right? Because she can be anything.
Well, that was the idea. Last issue is that she's a paper doll. She can become anyone for the job. Yeah.
And that she could still be out there. And then we get Cass's memories of them together again. It's like, let's go home, though. And then I also like that the smoke kind of looked like those purple flower petals, right? So kind of, thematic ending. The petals are falling here. But really, the 3-issue arcs of these tend to do better than tend to be better than the longer, ninja stuff. So I quite like this one.
I don't know if it's the length that's the problem, though. I think it may just be the ninja stuff was
the content.
Yeah, it was not very good. But yeah, like that final panel in silhouette as like going home, and it's that kind of the quiet contemplation of maybe Victoria's still out there somewhere, and all the memories of her up top. Like, I think it successfully put this into Cassie's backstory and made me care about it enough that I wouldn't mind her finding Victoria someday, and that could be a cool thing if we ever get there. So, I mean, credit due for that, and I think the reason why I don't mind this is because Almost always, whenever they retcon someone, well, first of all, with the other characters, they've done it too many times. So anytime they try and retcon someone into Batman's past, I'm just rolling my eyes like, no, stop it. You've done this too many times. It's such a cheap trick to try and fit someone in. Cast doesn't have as much of that, right? Because there's not as many cast stories. And I think the reason why it works here is because normally it's usually about setting up a villain. Now, don't get me wrong. If Victoria does ever show up, it is possible she'll start off as a villain. Like, you know, she's been an assassin for years. She doesn't remember who Cass is, and it's going to be a part of the story to make her remember, blah, blah, blah. You can see through. You can see how that'd go. But the fact that we started here with like the happy story of this, like, no, this childlike friendship that formed in spite of the horrible situation both of them were in, is nice. It's heartwarming, and it's like, okay, you made me care, not because you're obviously setting up a villain, even though that might be the story you go with. You made me care because no, there's a heart to this that's like, hey, even before Cass met Batman and met Gotham and became Batgirl, there was like a heart in there, even though she was a killer and couldn't speak to anyone. That's kind of nice. So
I like it.
Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, you know, it kind of gets into that nature versus nurture. That they're trying to nurture the bad stuff, but it was just in their nature to be kind and compassionate towards each other because, you know, they were all they had. You know, that was that friendship that kept them normal. You know, and no matter what they did, they were going to keep fighting each other. Yeah, and arguably, maybe Cass got to her worst because it was after Victoria was gone, and David. Maybe that's when David was the most successful until she kind of you know ran away and eventually met Batman and all that. So, yeah, no, solid little arc. Definitely the best arc of the book since the first one, I think. Very comfortably, even. So, what are you giving Batgirl issue 22? I'm going to give this an 8. Yeah, I'm almost tempted to go to 8.5. I don't think I will, though. I think I'll stick with 8, but it may be just a little bit extra sauce to get it up a bit higher, but like I do really like this issue and what it did. So, very cool. All right, The Deadman, issue 3, W. Maxwell Prince writing with Martin Morazzo on the art. I dropped this after one issue because I really did not like it, but Matt's still reading it, so take it away, Matt. Yeah. Oh, if you were still reading, you would have dropped it here because this is where it starts to get more like Kryptonite Saga, where instead of being standalone, we're still following Deadman. So Deadman's got to go to hell, right? Because at the end of the last issue, there was a revelation. He's got to go talk to Lucifer. And so he gets the assignment from Ramakrishna, and that being the custodian of the dead, he can traverse the different, realms. He has to take care in what he does. So it opens with him and his little buddy, the ghost of that boy, Bobby. They're doing like this spell where he says a button, a coin, a clock, a halo, a compass, full stop. And we find out that this is how you summon the entrance to hell, and you turn the page, and the way that they've drawn hell, it looks like it's on the rib cage of this gigantic skeleton in each of these different realms of the button, the coin, the clock, the halo, a compass, full stop, the sun, the moon, and their eye. They're all, well, the first 8 at least are all in the different parts of the rib cage, and then Lucifer's down there on the bottom with the red eyes, dark angel wings and stuff. So this issue is going to be Bobby and Boston Brand going through the different realms of hell in order to talk to Lucifer to find out what's going on with, with these souls, with these demons that are stopping, the balance from being, achieved by Ramakrishna. And that's where it gets very frustrating because this is, again, Kryptonite Saga playing with the medium, and that's really cool. But I'm reading this for the Beetlejuice-like vibe that we got from Boston Brand in the first 2 issues. And this one just goes completely out of whack, at least for me. And it doesn't start that way because, they get down to hell, and now Boston's in like a Constantine-like jacket, and he's got a high collar. Bobby can walk because being in the afterlife in this realm, he can, have full physical form and can kind of do anything. because at one point he takes his head off and starts swinging it like a flail. And Boston's like, okay, let's not do that again, right? Let's focus. And so they enter the first realm of hell, and the art changes every time they go. And this looks like more what you would expect from like the old Dante's Inferno, from the art that you would see on like old woodcuts. And there's a lot of people sitting around a table, and all the demons are done in straight black. One of them carries Bobby away, and so Boston has to chase him, which leads to the second realm, which looks like a subway car with a bunch of demons on there. And on that page where it breaks down all the different realms of hell, it says what each of them are like. So like the button is, those who pressed upon desperate souls, those who let the elevator door close to someone that was yelling, wait, right? That's the typical hell stuff. But like the coin, they say those of them were stingy, and the people that, wouldn't give up their seat for a pregnant woman or the elderly. So there's this little quip with each one of these that plays out as they go. And so the coin here is a subway station or a subway car that takes them to the next stop, where we see, these demons are doing things. One gets eaten by another, and Boston's like, oh, there's always a bigger one, They get to the third realm, which is just a bunch of those panels like in Kryptonite Spectrum, where it's kind of out of order and you got to put it together based on the art. So there's no dialogue. It's just Bobby and Deadman walking through this very pastel colored wasteland with demons, and they fight, and Boston picks up, where they end up on this chariot with ducks, which then leads to the next realm, which is the compass. And each time the art kind of changes. It's the same artist, mind you, but the art style changes. And so does the way they tell the story. And right here, when we get to the chariots with the ducks, and it becomes like an old style poem, like you're almost reading like the Canterbury Tales, I was about checked out. Like, I'm like, all right, this is too much. Like, I get what they're doing, but I want a fun story. The page before this, right, they get from there, is an update with that character, Mr. M, and we get more of his background, where apparently he was from what I'm guessing, because this is all done in prose, with like a sketch of him, like from an old book there, that he's known as the man with no wrinkles, and that he eats people to stay young, and that he might be a demon that escaped hell. And the first time that they have any notation of him is in Argentina in the 1940s, which is, post World War II. There was in a quaint Argentine village where a Juan Mandeville avoided extradition to Nuremberg, so he was a Nazi, where he met by chance a man sitting on a bench reading aloud from a grimoire. And so they're saying that maybe this Nazi guy got possessed by this demon during the war, came to Argentina, and has been, been this man with no wrinkles ever since, and that he's been taking over different people's not personalities but identities since then. So again, a whole lot of stuff that they're dropping on us here. And then we get to the meat of the book, which is Deadman coming across the next realm, where Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, they have a guy chained up to a rock like Prometheus, and they are eating him each day over and over. The Cerberus is three dogs. It says there were three heads that share one body. So they do this really cool thing, though, that each of the different dogs, while they're separate, they're all wearing a piece of the collar around a different part of their neck, which I think is really cool. But the guy that's on the rock was the oil executive from the first issue, the first body that we see Boston kind of ferry to the afterlife, where he wasn't supposed to go to hell, at least this realm of hell. He's like, Bobby's like, wait, didn't he get a get out of jail free pass? And this is where Boston goes, really lays down the law and starts to argue with Cerebus. And Deadman takes like a skeletal face here because they can take any form. And they're like, no, we got this from Lucifer, right? And they said that we have a fax. And this is where it really jumps off, where it is a page that is just like the karmic charts and soul data of Ira Jory, who's the guy that, and I don't know what I'm supposed to make of this page. Like, it just looks like an infographic with a bunch of different charts and graphs that I can't make heads or tails of because I don't know what I'm reading. But essentially, because of the karmic balance, I'm getting that Ira Jory wasn't supposed to be here. He's supposed to be in purgatory, not in hell, right? So, Deadman ends up being like, okay, I got to go talk to Lucifer. Gets to the next realm, which is done all in silhouette and shadows. He ends up using this flaming sword that Bobby has found that he let him keep from hell, who ends up cutting a hole through the ground, ending up in Lucifer's eye, where now Boston Brand is meeting with Lucifer. And Lucifer's drawn here like a kid who's kind of, you can't really tell their gender, right? So they're kind of not asexual. What's the term there where they look like both. I can't think of it right now, but like it's supposed to be Lucifer Morningstar, and he brings them
amalgamation. What's what I'm trying to say? Amalgamation.
No, you know what I'm talking about, though, right? They're kind of not genderless, but it has forms of both of them. It could be seen as feminine, but also masculine.
Hermaphrodite? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, that's not it, though. That's not the proper term for that, right? Like, it's on the tip of my tongue. People, I'm sure I'll get corrected here, but this is purely coming from a place of ignorance. Anyways, Lucifer's like, did you bring my offering? And here I'm thinking Boston, this is why Boston's brought Bobby. I was like, oh, this book's about to get dark, right? And out of Boston's jacket pocket, it's a box of red crayons. And Lucifer's like, oh, these are reds that I've never seen before. Crimson Tide, Ruby Slipper, Garnet number 3. And they're like, oh, I'm going to draw so much blood, right? And Boston's like, okay, Lucifer, Prince of Darkness, why is Ira Jory here when they're supposed to be in purgatory? And this is where Lucifer's like, number one, how dare you come and try to set the law to me? But I'm just doing what I'm told, and that hell is running out of souls. So in order for me to do my job, I've made deals with other deities, including Ramakrishna, that any of these souls that are kind of heavy on the karmic balance, they come down here. And Boston gets super upset because he's like, no, you're lying. You're the Lord of Lies. Like, this is what you do. And holds up a picture of those demons, and he goes, yeah, I've never seen those before. They're not mine. Go take this up with Ramakrishna. They're lying to you. And then they get expelled from hell, and they get to this really cool page where now Lucifer's in like full demon form, big giant bat wings, spines coming from everywhere, fanged teeth, yellow eyes, and drops Boston and Bobby back through all the different levels of hell that we've seen, back through the hole that Boston has cut through, to where he lands back into that city that he's been, sitting in. And now he feels completely betrayed by Ramakrishna. And he's like, okay, well, now I know where I'm going. I had to go talk to God. And that's where the issue leaves off. And so when this book really hits, it's the Boston interacting with different people, right? And it's that central mystery, who is this man with no wrinkles? And this one does that thing where clearly the creatives are much more interested in making a unique reading experience, which is cool. There's room for that. But dealing with all the different art styles and a constant changing and not really knowing what's going on from realm to realm and just kind of getting a vibe from it, I don't think, unless I'm misinterpreting everything, which I very much well be, because it came to a certain point where I was just kind of skimming and looking at the art until we got to the part that I would like. And especially when I got to that facts page, I was like, oh, this happened in Kryptonite Saga or Kryptonite Spectrum. And I didn't like it then, even though I liked a lot of the ideas. And that's what's here, right? So as long as this gets back to what it was like that kind of Beetlejuicy Boston brand dealing with the afterlife and the different deities, which again, that's where this was really in its strength. When he's talking to Cerebus and, you know, and talking to Lucifer, that's really where it sings and it goes. And him interacting with Bobby and stuff is also really good. But yeah, the way that Morazzo's able to switch up the art style is really cool. Like that is a fun trick, you know, to do, because it makes it feel like this is a big, expansive journey, right? This is an odyssey through the underworld. I just wish a lot of the ideas landed more, and I didn't have to read things in like iambic pentameter, because that was really, really annoying, or reading these facts pages. So, yeah, rating it's kind of hard, because the stuff I liked, I really liked, and the stuff that annoyed me really annoyed me. So I guess I'd have to give this a 6.5.
Okay. Are you dropping the book or what?
No, I'm going to keep going. Boston Brand's going to go pick a fight with God. Well, an argument with God. I got to see that. Right? I got to see where this goes. So we'll see where it goes. Knowing also that it got extended to 12, I'm wondering if this is going to affect the pacing. And that maybe to my detriment. Maybe we'll get more of these issues now. And that might make me drop it. But if we're going to keep the same pacing and we're going to get with Boston trying to figure out what the hell's going on, I'm still I'm still interested in that part of the mystery. So.
Okay. I'll take us on to Supergirl Survive, issue 3, Ethan S. Parker writing, with Griffin, Sheridan, and Reis on the art. So this book keeps doing weirdly different things each issue, because this issue starts, right, and it's doing some sort of like right after Kara and Cal were saved on the Krypton moon, right? And it's like the initial, like, oh, what do we do with them? Lantern's talking around them. And that stuff was fine. I'm like, okay, I'm glad they're fleshing this part out, because we need to learn more about what happened right after that and how they were taken in. And they're talking about looking for other survivors of Krypton, but they don't think there is any. All that stuff you'd expect. And then a few pages in, when Kara's like overhearing them say they're going to move them to Oa and people will be coming after them, Kara decides to, you know, steal a gun and steal a shuttle and get away with baby Cal. And all of a sudden, this narration starts coming in. And this narration is, like, at first I didn't really think anything of it, but a couple of, you know, panels in, or a couple of boxes in, it starts saying things like, this is supposed to be a superhero tale. And I'm like, oh, who is this talking? This is obviously someone talking in hindsight from the future. And then the next one says, of course, I wouldn't know all about this until much later when I flip through the back issues. Confession time, I'm usually more of a wait for trade kind of girl. And I'm like, wait, who the hell is narrating this? What's going on? This sounds like Superman Prime, except that it says gal. I'm like, and then I'm like, next page. Oh, it's an imp. It's an imp. It's a Mexipetlik. For the Elseworld. I'm like, okay. So we're doing an imp story now. And the imp is clearly aware of like who Supergirl usually is, because she calls her Supergirl, to which Kara says, what did you just call me? That's weird. And she's like, oh yeah, I've never seen you like this. I've never seen you as a Blue Lantern before in all the universes I've traveled to. Now, despite the surprise in my voice, and it sounds like I'm negative, once I actually got into the gist of what the issue was doing, which is that, once Kara became a Blue Lantern, she basically just made a construct of Krypton for her and Cal to live on, but is kind of depressed by it because it's not really fulfilling anything, but Cal seems to like it, so she's keeping it going. I'm like, this is actually quite interesting, this part. I actually kind of like the trauma she's dealing with and all the way she's using it for now.
Yeah, the way that she's weaponizing her grief into hope for Cal, I really appreciated. But there was just a lot with Mrs. Mxyzptlk.
Yeah, she's featured.
That was not gelling with me.
Yeah, she's featured very, very heavily throughout this, because basically she explores the constructed planet, eventually finds like toddler Cal, who's a little bit older now. He's like maybe 2 or something, and she eventually finds Kara, but there's a lot of just her and baby Cal going around. until they find Kara. And then there's obviously the tease early on where the other lanterns were saying, hey, whatever you do when you're transporting them to Oa, don't go past any, and they call it something else, but they're basically saying yellow suns. Don't go near any yellow suns. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. So she's not learned that she can have powers yet. But it sounds like at the end here, and I did like the running gag that Kara kept saying her name wrong. So it was like Maxie, Laxie was like one of them, or something like that.
Which is a very good self-referential for the imps with the all the consonants in their name. It's hard to, or even if she says it, it's hard to hear what she had said. So Kara's trying her best. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. So by the end, it's like, hey, we're going to, take you to somewhere with a yellow sun. Let's go and do that. And that they seem to wake up in this planet with a yellow sun. Not probably Earth, I don't think, but
no,
we'll see the effect of that next issue. I mean, I did like some of the stuff we get into. I like this idea that, like, oh, you've built this version of Krypton, but you've kind of forgotten about all the bad things that were on Krypton, so it turns into the riots while Zod was trying to take over and things like that. And I'm like, I like this exploration of like what was going on in that sense. I like the way Kara's dealing with her grief, but the extended like page time of this Mixie character was
I liked the message, did not like the messenger. Right? Like
I guess the problem is it's so different in tone to the first, because issue 2 was already so different to issue 1 because of the time skip. And that was like a bit to take, but it was like by the end it got quite interesting. And the funny thing is here it did the same thing where it introduced this imp, and I'm like, oh really, we're doing an imp and she's being self-referential and all that. And then it did these interesting things with Kara's character and all this construct and the Cal stuff that I was like, oh, I'm actually really into a lot of this by the end again. But both issue 2 and 3 have had this problem where early on I'm like, oh, I don't think I like this. But then by the end of the issue, it wins me over, which is impressive in some ways. But I'm also like, what the hell is issue 4 going to start with that's going to annoy me? And then by the end, I'll be into it.
Well, something on a yellow, or somewhere with a yellow sun. And it's got to be, I'm trying to think what that could be. But yeah, I really like the where Mrs. Mixie is kind of like, oh no, you have this, like, you built this Krypton based off of your memories, right? So it's only places that Kara has been.
Yeah.
Right.
And they repeat, and because she's not seen the whole planet. It repeats.
Right. And the one part that it's not the city that she was living in, it's a mountain that she went to on a field trip and all this other stuff, and keeps it around because Cal likes it. And then when Mrs. Mixie takes her to essentially Krypton, that's quote unquote a utopia, and she sees all that, that's where it pulled me back in, because I was kind of like, oh man, what are we doing? This is so weird. We had an imp that sounded like Superboy Prime, which I was so worried when I heard back issue, and I was like, oh, don't give me this. And I was like, okay, it's an imp. I don't mind the imps as much. But just going through the city, and I was like, this is very repetitive. And then we see all of the same spots that Kara has created, but they're the riots, right? They're all the bad stuff that she's choosing not to remember. This is actually what was going on and whatever. That's where it pulled me back in.
Yeah, and the sadness that she, like, Mixie says, oh, like, where's your friends from Krypton? And Kara reveals that she did make constructs of her friends, but they just made her sad because they're not really there. They're not a good substitute, so she just stopped doing it. And she's really only keeping this going for Cal. And the imp explains this idea that, like, the hope of Krypton going forward is you two, not the idea of remembering it, like this hollow version of it. So basically it says, hey, you should give up that ring, and like what you really need is a yellow sun.
Yeah. Which I did like that too, because they set up with the talk with the lanterns that, like, anytime Kara's around St. Walker, the ring just lights up, the blue ring. Yeah. Because of that energy, it represents hope, and that Kara has seemingly a lot of hope.
Yeah, that was like the day 2. Like, so after the initial like conversation, she's sitting with Saint Walker, and Saint Walker explains the blue ring, and says that he's like ultra charged when he's near her, and she doesn't understand that because she's like, how could you be feeling hope from me? I feel nothing of the sort right now. And it's this idea that she inherently has all this hope in her. I like that as well. So this is constantly throwing cool things at me, but there's just but it's like, here's an imp, and like this is going to be the conduit for the story of this issue. So on the upside, I'm pretty confident we're not seeing this imp again, really. Maybe she'll get a quick cameo towards the end of the story or something, but I think this is the imp issue. I don't think we're going to do another full imp issue.
No, and that was the thing too, because it was like, trade me that blue ring and I'll take you to somewhere where there's where you can flourish. And then that's where we get the yellow sun. Yeah. Right? They're in this field with all these purple flowers. Which could just be clearly not Earth.
Yeah, it could be a new planet, or it could turn out to be somewhere that we will recognize from DC lore next issue. Yeah. It's hard to say right now.
Like, what if it's... Does Rand have a yellow sun? Like, because what if it's Rand and we get the Zeta Beam and Sardath and, like, what a utopia could look like...
I don't know.
With them, you know? But...
I only know when they bring it up in relation to a Superman visit or something. They never tend to mention it otherwise.
No. But yeah, definitely not Earth, looking at the flowers. So we're curious to see what kind of stuff they're going to run into and have to survive now. But yeah, this being like a meditation on grief and hope and how one can feel the other or take away from the other.
Yeah, and how she's effective.
The whole reason that she's doing that is for Cal. It's not even for her.
Yeah, but I mean, she started doing it for her, though. Like she literally just lives in the past by making a construct of Krypton. There's something interesting to explore there for sure. And I think they are still very good, actually. Like, I think the the facial expressions are great. You know, when Kara looks annoyed when she sees the imp for the first time, or the imp's kind of like, as much as I didn't really want an imp story. Like, yeah, the imp's very expressive. There's a lot of detail in like her face and her hair and her hat and all that. So, you know, everything looks great in this issue.
Yeah, I do like that they have to give Mixapitalik a hat, but in this case, it's like a cabbie hat instead of the bowler.
Yeah,
you know, so it's it's playing with all of that.
Yeah, and there is
the breaking of the fourth wall is still there.
And there is an art change because there's two artists, but it is neatly split. All the flashback stuff at the start is one artist, and then all the stuff on the constructed Krypton. As soon as we get to the imp, basically, we're on to the second artist, and they have very different styles, but it does actually work quite well because of the tone of the flashbacks being quite dour. So this more sketchy, emotional, moody style does work for those, and that also looks very good. So it's a rare example where the artist break makes a lot of sense, and both styles look good. So
wait, are you sure it's two artists? Where's the?
I mean, there's two artists credited on League of Comic Geeks.
Are there?
Yeah, and it looks different art when I'm looking at it.
Because I have on League of Comic Geeks, I only have one writer. It's Rod. I have two writers, one artist. I have Rod Reis as the artist.
I mean, it's at the very least a very different colorist, if nothing else. But it looks very different to me. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I think I said earlier on that Griffin was an artist, but he's actually a co-writer.
Yeah.
That's my bad. But I mean, the very least the color palette is extremely different, and it's a lot sketchier. Like it's not even just the colors. The inks are different. The inks are actively different, which is why I thought it was a different artist.
The inks are different, and the coloring is more bright and vibrant, like with the imp stuff. Right? It's not the muted orange and purple. They're like bright.
Yeah, and it's got much heavier line work, whereas the flashback stuff at the start is more sketchy, and in a good way. I don't mean that as a negative. It actually looks very good. But it's a lot more watercolory in terms of the colors versus the more just kind of like punchy colors of the stuff after the fact. So, now fair enough. If that's actually two different artists, or sorry, one artist the whole time, I'm actually almost more impressed that the style looks so different for that first chunk. But it's a gorgeous book, honestly. Like, I mean, the art's actually very, very high quality, which is you don't always expect that for like a little side story or a mini series or an Elseworld. So
no,
it's pleasing to say that. So yeah, interesting mixed bag for the story. There's like the one big element that feels weird again that I don't really like, and it was something similar in the last issue with the time skip where it felt like, oh, we're doing something really different all of a sudden, but it does get to some interesting concepts that I actually really like throughout. So yeah, an interesting one for sure. Still intrigued for the next issue, certainly. So what are you?
Know where they are.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah, we got to know where they are, and we got to see what she's like with the powers for the first time since she's under a yellow sun.
Yeah.
Probably isn't going to help that the 2-year-old Cal's going to be probably developing some powers as well.
Yep.
Maybe not all of them, because he doesn't tend to have all of his powers on Earth until he's like a teenager. So maybe he'll just be a little fast and strong, whereas Kara will get the full set kicking in.
She's in his terrible twos now, know. She'll get the full, But yeah. So I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
I was about to ask you. You jumped not by much, but you jumped the gun. Yeah, I think I agree with 7.5. I think like the ideas of like why she's making this construct and reliving Krypton but feeling depressed about it, I think all works really well for me, so much that the imp stuff only drags it down so far. I think it's still good. So yeah, 7.5. Cool. Superman, the Book of El, issue 11, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Scott Godlewski on the art. Penultimate issue of this. Matt, you're stuck with it, so tell. Well, that maybe gives an indication of how you feel right now, but go on.
Well, so this one goes really heavy into the lore of Krillix, and the stuff that he's done in the time between we saw him from War World to now. And it's all to get his family back. And we find out, and this is from the back matter, and I'm going to say all of this at the front so we can get through all of the stuff that should have been dealt with across more issues. But I feel like Johnson leaving for Marvel and doing exclusive with them really cut this book, because the pacing on this is like the stuff that happens throughout this issue felt like it could have been over 3 issues, and he's just throwing it in there. So in the back matter, we get this whole history of New Felocia, which I don't know if you knew any of this from the War World saga, but Felocia was that Kryptonian colony that the Felocians came from. They were founded by a scientist and philosopher, Talcus Al Rey. And so she left, the main part of Krypton. They have the Felocians. They get taken by War World, by the scouts of the War Goons. And then we get to the Krillix and his wife, right? So there was a biologist named Alta Ux. She and her husband who was an eco-scientist, led a movement to reduce people's impact on the planet, right? And then that is when the Warzoons came, and Alta and the kids were killed, right? Oh no, this was before that. So it doesn't say how. It says tragically Alta's work was cut short, and there's no surviving image of her or the 4 children, only remembered because of the husband. The Warzoons come, they pick him up, he goes off, he finds out all about the aspects of Olgren, right? We go through all that. And that after escaping War World, he made the plan that he knew how he was going to get the kids back and his family back. And that's all this issue now deals with, is him being the Promethean king. And he had become the Promethean king, which we find out was by after the fall of Earth. Krillix next acts was the conquest planet Durla. Durla is the shapeshifters from Legion of Superheroes, right? This chameleon boy, they can turn into different people. We had the Durlans in Green Lantern, right? When the United Planets, that whole arc. Yeah. We were dealing with the Durlans and stuff. He had gotten these giants called the Promethean Giants, and they had given him the edge until the point where Krillix decided he didn't need them anymore, and essentially turned on them and became the Promethean king. So they're in this wasteland of all of these giants, right? And they look like big mechs, and they're laying around, and then one starts talking to Superman, like it's speaking in this different font, And Superman goes to look, and one of the eyes on this thing lights up, and everyone's confused. It's like, there's no way. These things are dead, right? These are their corpses. Like, whatever life was in them is long gone. And we come to find out that it's Pyrrhus, right? And now he sees his dad, Superman, for the first time. And is like, look, I've turned a new leaf. And we need to stop Krillix, the Promethean King, because anything that he's going to do is going to cause big chaos for the rest of the universe. And Pyrrhus apologizes to the boy, which I'm still forgetting his name, Othel or Osol. I get them confused. One has the power of the Black Racer now. He has his powers. It's more of the aspect of Olgren. He's like, yeah, in order to get the next piece of the aspect of Olgren, we'll have to get something go somewhere that you're very familiar with, Superman. And he pulls out a Phantom Zone projector. And apparently Superwoman was in there. And this is the thing that would have helped to have more issues, right? Because we were just clearing through these aspects of Olgren. And yeah, apparently Superman had hidden this aspect in Superwoman. I don't know which Superwoman this is. I don't know if it's supposed to be Kara or what. But the next time we see her, it's this really cool, or the only time we see her, by the way, is this really cool splash page that has all of the descendants of El heading towards Krillix. And you have the Green Lantern one. You have Ronan and Rowan Kent, the I forget what they were, but like the barbarian looking ones. You got Pyrrhus with these Promethean giants that he's using magic to wield. You have the twins. You have the Tamaranian one, and then Superwoman, who's wearing like Kryptonian kind of armor draped over this cloak, and she's heading straight towards them. Before that, we get Krillix talking to Kal-El about, you should have understood this more than anybody. We looked to you during War World, and, you'll know that I'll do whatever I can to get my family back. Because he uses these aspects. He has like the three of them. He brings a version of them back, but they're fragile. So when he gets upset and loses his focus, they all start like cracking and disintegrating. And when Superman shows up, he goes, man, they're just stones. They can't suffer anymore. Your responsibility is to the living. And that's where they have their talk about War World. And Krillix is just like, I miss my family. I will do anything to get them back. I failed them. And him and Superman start fighting, and that's where the House of El shows up, and they start fighting with the War Zunes, and all hell is breaking loose. And he says the last three are in my grip. He ends up with the Dark Lantern ring that was in the Sun Eater, right? That John had weld. And because he's got all these aspects in one place, the book ends with Krillix being like filled with all this energy, and it's like coming out of him through his eyes and mouth and arms. He says, this is the witness the birth of the new world, the ascendance of the House of Ux, and despair. And it looks like Olgren, right? So it is this big blue fiery version of the things that we've seen of Olgren throughout. And that says up next, the finale, the end of days. And I just feel that if Philip Kennedy Johnson hadn't left for Marvel and this had been given more issues, we could have gotten a more fulfilling story instead of whipping through this hunt for the different aspects of Olgren. And it could have been like a full, sort of sequel to War World, to play with these ideas that in the future, what makes somebody a descendant of Superman? Like, it's not just being a descendant, right? Like having the same blood. It's taking what he believed in and trying to make the universe better. And what happens when that gets corrupted, when all you do is focus on that one thing, that Krillix could have been this like Superman and done all this good, but instead he's used it for the selfless mission to just get his family back. So there are pieces of that here, but we're just whipping through all of the big plot stuff and all the lore to get there, that it makes it very unfulfilling. Because again, we don't know why Superwoman is in the Phantom Zone or what aspect of Olgren, just that she has one. And we don't even know that's her until we get to that page, and now she's there, and Superman's very confused, right? Like, where did she come? Like, you know, why is she in there? We don't get any answers. So, yeah, the art looks great though. Like all the space battle stuff, all of the, you know, the Promethean giant, entire scene of them laying on the ground. It's very somber and you know, still, and the way that it's all handled comes out really well. It really balances the rest of the bombastic art later with all the space battles. So it's at least a pleasure to look at. I just wish it was more like fun to read. I don't feel like I'm having missing pieces here.
Yeah, I mean, it was always...
I'm in for the last one.
I mean, yeah, you've only got one left, so at this point, I suppose you might as well. But yeah, like, I think this was always supposed to be a 12-issue book, because they announced it super early, and then we waited ages for the solicit, and I don't know...
Yeah.
If I was to guess, I wonder if this wasn't actually supposed to be the end of the story, if originally it was like, okay, you're getting 12 issues for the Book of El, and then kind of like... you know, a Nice House by the Lake or like Darkness of Steel, there was supposed to be a second 12-issue series, maybe even a third. And obviously, once he started writing this, and it was like, oh, hey, I've signed an exclusive Marvel contract, it's like, well, we've greenlit these 12 issues, you can finish your story in these 12 issues, and maybe that's why everything feels just so fast and weightless. Because
I remember the first 3 issues really take their time, and we get to know those characters, and we're spending time with like future Jimmy, right? And that whole thing, you know, and the Rowan Kent and all this. And now we're just like aspect of Olgren, new planet. Oh, the Phalosian giants. That's why he's the Promethean king, the Promethean giants, all this other stuff. And then at least he adds that back matter lore stuff that he had been doing to kind of flesh out the pieces here and there. And that was a nice reminder of Krillex's story, which part of it that I had forgotten, you know, about all of, you know, how he ended up on Warworld and the Warzone raiding party, and his, you know, knew he was looking for his family because that's been the central conceit of the book. But what actually had happened to them and stuff was a nice reminder, and why he looks at Superman as kind of weak for not doing more with the power that he has and stuff. So, so yeah, I'm very, very looking forward to this being done, and then I don't have to talk about it by myself anymore after the last issue. So I'm going to give this a straight 7.
All right, fair enough. 7 out of 10 on that. Supergirl, as in Peter David's Supergirl, which started in 1996, issue 3. So this is a classic series that we started, and well, we do another couple of classic series monthly on Patreon as part of our rewards there. This is the one we do on the show, and you know, we've been enjoying the first couple of issues of this. Issue 3 here, and I was impressed because issue 3 takes place during like a, obviously an event, or just like there's like a line wide kind of like something going on where there's an eclipse happening, right? So the sun's not out, right? That's like something that's just going on in DC at the time. I've read this a couple times and I forgot the reveal of what was causing things in the town, because it's not just the eclipse, because I think as you're reading it you're thinking, oh, the eclipse is causing all this stuff to go on where people are losing their mind and starting to act like rabid animals. But the reveal that Grodd is behind it does land quite well when you don't see it coming. I mean, how did you like this issue?
So at first, right, you're just thinking, oh, it's like a werewolf type thing, right? People are getting more primal. They're attacking. They're like a guy, you know, this kid's trying to run for cover during the eclipse because they're attacking. It turns out to be Linda's mom as she's going around for the church, spreading like gospel during like what looks like the end times. And and he goes in, and one of the shopkeepers just shoots him straight in the chest. And you see, like, there's a close up on the teeth. And I was like, oh, we're doing like werewolf type stuff. And then we see him, and he's like much more primal later.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the end, and it's Grodd, and you're just like, oh, shoot, okay, this is really cool. You know, I get to see this version of Supergirl against Grodd, who is a bit different than, you know, in the 90s and what he became post John's Flash.
Yeah, here he's basically taking over people's minds and making them act out. Now, it's not everyone, but clearly he's affecting some people. But it's worth mentioning, as much as this is kind of a tie-in arc to like something else that was going on in DC at the time, it does have a lot of the ongoing stuff that's relevant. Like you say, Linda's mum's getting into trouble, so Supergirl's going to save her. The guy who goes into the store and gets shot, his sister, I think, is Linda's friend who works at the hospital, and you see her, because there's a kind of a reveal there that that's her brother, because you see her say, I'm going to phone my brother, and then you just see his dead body lying there and his phone's beeping away, and you're like, oh shit, that was a cool little reveal. So it's like, okay, there's going to be fallout from that then when that all comes to light, that's happened to him. But you've got more stuff with the reporter character who's still in hospital from being injured because he was saved last issue, and he's like, there's an apocalypse happening outside, I need to get out there and report, I need to go and phone this in to the Times.
It's my duty as a reporter. And I was like, yo man, maybe get healthy first.
I love that we have a reporter character in this Supergirl series, but in contrast to your typical Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Daily Planet kind of setting, he's kind of like a screw up and a loser who's like desperately trying to be a reporter but isn't very good at it. I think that's a really funny different version of that type of character to have. So yeah, I mean, Supergirl like sort of lets herself get beat up a little bit by some of the angry like townsfolk, and but mainly because she doesn't want to hurt them. But we've also got his Buzz, you know, the cultist dude Buzz. He's still around.
The main villain.
Yeah, he's making deals with some other new villain, and we don't know who this new villain is. I mean, this might actually just be Grodd actually he's talking to. That I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it probably is actually, because you see a little bit of fur around the eye when he's talking to him.
Because I'm thinking more because he's just talking about the demon that they just dealt with in the last issue.
Yeah, Chakat. Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, is this some new demon? Because you see the fur around the eyes, and I was like, oh, what's he pulling? Nah, he said it's everyone's favorite telepathic gorilla.
Yeah, well, it never occurred to me in the moment. I thought this was just setting up stuff for later, and it's only just now because I'm looking at the page again, because they mention that this, like, it's not just Grodd's telepathy that's doing this to people. He's using like a magical like gem that he's wearing around his neck to do it, and. Like this is basically a scene setting that up, but I think because at the end I was kind of like, oh, I'm just sort of taking this as Grodd was just doing this, and this is separate stuff, this Buzz stuff. But no, this is Buzz working with Grodd actually. So that's even more tied into what the ongoing story has been. So yeah, so yeah, I mean Linda's mom like obviously gets saved by Supergirl during all the chaos, and it's a fun sequence. She's using her telekinetic blast to put out the fires. She has to like deal with all these rabid people who are looking more and more monstrous, which again makes sense that it's not just Grodd's telepathy, because they're physically changing. Like they are growing teeth and they are, you know, getting more werewolf-like.
They're getting more ape-like.
Yeah,
because they even have like the form of it. Like their forearms are hanging in front of them. They're all big. They got the pointed teeth and the kind of more ape-like face as they're going. The one thing that did get me was there was a guy that's causing problems for Supergirl at the beginning, hits her, right? And she was like, oh, I know how to deal with this, because her dad shows up, Linda's dad, as a cop, right? And he's like, oh, if one more thing, I'll break her neck. And Supergirl just takes him up to space. And when he comes back down, he's just like, oh yeah, I'll be good now.
Well, not to space, because he would be dead.
No, yes, but up to the upper limits of the sky, right?
Up in the sky, and just kind of like threatens him so you get scared. Is basically Which on the dad being a cop thing, we didn't know that, and actually Supergirl kind of admits that she didn't really know that either. It's only just now that she sees him in the uniform, and she's like, oh, this now is like flashing back to me from Linda's memories, but she literally did not know up until that moment that Linda's father was a cop. So that's another reveal here, as we're building out the ongoing stuff. So yeah. Art here from Gary
Okay.
Frank is very good. Lots of expressions, lots of detail. Anytime there's fire on a panel, it pops really well with the coloring. It's hard to really be mad at any of this. And then you get a little bit of a face off when Buzz shows up again. And he's even like, hey, some of your powers aren't working, right? Like, you're trying to shapeshift, you're trying to do this, and it's not happening. And that also seems to be related to the talisman that Rod's messing around with. So yeah, the big thing towards the end is that Linda's mum, Supergirl, like, let her go to the church because she wanted to help people there and try and, like, you know, do a community effort to, like, bring in people in who needed shelter or whatever. And people at the church are starting to turn into apes. So Supergirl comes in, tries to save her, and that's when we get the big reveal of Grodd sitting up on the cross at the top, dangling the medallion, or the talisman, I should say. It's a really cool
Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, it's a really cool reveal because I don't think I saw it coming. And yeah, if you go back to that first page where Buzz is talking to him, you can sort of tell there's some fur around the eyeball. So in hindsight, you're like, okay, it makes sense now. But I didn't see it coming beforehand.
No, that's clever writing by Peter David, because once you see it, then you're like, oh, how didn't I pick up that this was Grodd? You know, like it's everything's there. And him just sitting up there the way he is on the cross, like, that's such a good visual. And then even the pastor down there is all like gorilla-fied, you know, looking up at him. Yeah,
I wonder if the whole turn into gorillas is just because it's a gorilla wielding the talisman. If it's like, oh, but you know, it's not that he picked for them to turn into gorillas, it's just because, no, they're going to turn into beasts like me, effectively.
Because Buzz tells her that it releases the beast within humans.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, who that's pretty much amorphic. It could literally mean anything.
Or maybe it's like more specifically because humans and gorillas are related. That's why everyone's turning into more. It's more like the inner beast would be more gorilla-like. It's not that Grodd has anything to do with it necessarily. But the big cliffhanger here is that as she's trying to fight Grodd, she starts to feel some pain, and Supergirl herself starts to, like, grow teeth and look more evil and vicious. And Buzz just kind of, like, has a little villain monologue at the end to see us out. So yeah, the cover for the next issue's got Supergirl wearing like Batgirl clothes, and she's looking all kind of evil by Grodd's side. So I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Leather pants, leather jacket. She's...
honestly, a lot of fun. Like, it is a little bit like, you know, you got that kind of thing where it's tying in a little bit to something going on in DC as a whole with the Eclipse stuff. So you're like, oh, there's no sunlight anymore.
Yeah. So I just pulled up on one of the wikis this issue, as I do when we talk about old ones. And this was part of the Final Night event, right? Where the sun had gotten extinguished. And that's also big because this is where we lose Hal Jordan and get introduced to Kyle Rayner.
Oh, really? That was then? Okay.
Yeah, final night. Well, maybe Kyle's already been introduced. I'd have to go back and look. But this is where Hal sacrifices himself, because I think maybe he's already parallaxed, so maybe Kyle's already been around. But this is where he sacrifices himself to reignite the sun, and then that's what leads to him becoming the Spectre, which then leads back to Rebirth.
So yeah, there's a bit of fun connective stuff here to DC and why the sun's not working in this issue. And the next one. That's interesting. So it's I don't think I like it as much as the first two issues, because I loved the sort of the introduction to, like, learning about the whole Linda connection and what's going on there. But this was still a lot of fun. Like, the action was really good, particularly once things got a bit more horror movie-esque with the people turning into monsters and Supergirl swooping in to save the day. And the Grodd reveal was just fantastic.
So good. Yeah. Well, just her going through the town as well. We get a good from the first two issues. You know, the people of the town, she's trying to we have ingratiate herself there. Yeah, we have enough established characters that we were able to cut around different people who we recognized and see how they've been affected by what's going on. And that's the sign of a good supporting cast. And like them going back to the what's his name? Is it Cutter? The reporter? Yeah. That whole scene is very, for everything that's been going on, right? We see a guy get shot in the chest. that adds some levity throughout this as he's arguing with the nurse. He's like, "Nah, I got to go out there and report on the stuff that needs to be reporting." And she's like, "Sir, like, get back into bed. You're not healthy yet." You know, so yeah, that's a bit of levity there. So I like that it keeps going to that. But yeah, and then Buzz is just becoming like not an all-timer villain, but very like every time I see him, it's not. I don't get that annoyed like, this guy again. It's like, oh, what's he up to? Like, who is this guy?
It feels like a mischief maker right now who just wants to help anyone who's going to cause trouble in the town. Because that's one of the things he kind of monologues about, is that he thinks this town's got a future, like, for him, which is that he thinks this... he's almost talking about like it's the Hellmouth, like it's Sunnydale, and like this is the town that's going to unleash hell upon the world or something. Which, weirdly, timeline-wise, this is just before the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer would have debuted, because that was a mid-season show that debuted at the start of 1997, so this has only got a few months on it, funnily enough. But it feels very almost Sunnydale Hellmouth-esque with the way we've got all these cult-like beings around, and it seems to be a magnet for activity. I suppose you could argue that Supergirl herself might be part of that magnet here, rather than the town itself.
That's true. Right. But maybe she was drawn there because of that activity.
Maybe.
Right? Like, one's doing the other. And yeah, we've already got like cat demons. Now we got Gorilla Grodd, or just Grodd, you know?
Yeah.
As he told us in the last issue, or 2 issues of Flash ago, we don't call you Human Flash. You don't got to call me Gorilla Grodd.
Speak for yourself. I always specify the species of all my superheroes.
No, Kryptonian Superman.
Kryptonian Superman, Human Batman, you know.
Yeah. When you get to the Green Lantern characters, it really...
Hey, to be fair, we do call him Martian Manhunter. That's actually Eddie's name.
We do.
So...
We do. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that was a Gardner Fox thing, because if I look... I'll have to look who created Grodd and who created Manhunter. Because that seems like they came up around the same time.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Do that now.
But yeah, now Supergirl issue 3 is still a lot of fun. The ongoing narrative and building the townsfolk out and having them get a bit more involved in what's happening, and consequences for those things as well. Like, I love the continuity of Cutter being in the hospital from last time. I think that's a really nice little touch. So, good stuff. What are you giving Supergirl issue 3, Matt?
This is an 8.5.
Ooh. I'll just go with a straight 8, but yeah, I respect it. I respect it for sure. Have you solved the mystery of the...
I'm looking, so not yet. So Gorilla Grodd was created by John Broome and Carmine Infantino in Flash 106, which is from 1959. So now I have to look up Martian Manhunter, which I think Manhunter predates that by a lot.
I would say predates that, yeah.
Martian Manhunter was created by Joseph Sebastian and Joe Certa in Detective Comics 225, which is from November 55. So not by much, but they were not the same creator.
Oh, only 4 years though. That's much closer than I thought it would have been. So fair enough.
Yep.
Flash is basically, or Grodd in that Flash issue is basically right at the start of the Silver Age. Martian Manhunter was at the end of the Golden Age. Okay. Interesting. Well, that'll take us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week, favourite panel / moment, favourite cover, favourite art, and of course, top 5 books. So, Matt, why don't you start us off with the panel / moment of the week?
All right. I would be remiss if I don't mention the luchador stuff in Batman, right?
Self-parody.
That's really where I was going.
Self-parody.
Yes, right? That's really where I was going. Right. And then I read Absolute Superman. And that hug at the end where he is embracing the man with the blood that can kill him. That's my Superman. That's Kal-El. And it really did. It weirdly moved me, right? So that's mine.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it either has to be that, or maybe like that like main friendship page in Batgirl with the backstory. And I think it's interesting that both moments that I'm picking from are both really heartfelt moments this week. To be different, I'll say the Batgirl page with all the happy memories of them befriending each other despite the horrible upbringings. But it's very close. It's very close between the two. So, heartwarming either way, which is nice. All right. And then for cover of the week, There's a few things to mention. There's a Tula Lote variant for Absolute Green Lantern, so cool looking Joe cover for this week. The main Batgirl cover is really cool with the cowl coming off with all the petals coming out of it. Really neat. There's a cool Takara variant for Batman, which is Verity holding the tray with a tea. Alfred's behind her spiritually, but she's blowing bubble gum just to sort of like show how different she is from Alfred. She's the younger generation. She's the Gen Z of the Alfred lineage.
I'm not a regular butler. I'm a cool butler.
Yeah. And then we got another Batman variant by Ryan Sook, which is cool, where he's kind of like, it's really cool harsh lighting, and there's all these chess pieces because he's kind of on a chessboard, but the city's behind him still. I will say, one of the disappointments, though, is that there's a Jorge Molina cover, which almost looks amazing, but for some reasons, Batman's head just looks too small to me. So it throws the whole thing off, because it looks great. I love the texture of the suit and just how good everything else is, but the head just looks too small.
I was sure that was going to be my pick early when we were talking about then I clicked on it to get a bigger picture.
It bigger. Yeah. I thought the same. I looked at it when it was small and thought, that looks amazing. Then I clicked on it and went, oh wait, no, there's something wrong with it. That's a shame. So that is a shame. There's also a Dustin Wynn variant for Batman. Had a lot of good variants this week. Having said that, what's my pick? What's my pick? I think I am going to go with the Takara variant for Batman. I'm going to go with the Verity one with the bubblegum. I think the bubblegum being the pink is such a nice contrast to the kind of classic Alfred in the background. It sells the idea of the difference in generation. It's almost equivalent actually to that first Peter David Supergirl where she's holding a skateboard. It's like, hey, this is the young, hip Supergirl. Not like that old man Superman. This is the young generation. It's a simple idea, but the art's really nice. So, what are you picking? Not your parents' Alfred. Yes.
Right? So some that you didn't mention, there's a Christian Ward variant for Deadman that's got, it's got that Christian Ward greenish blue hue. And it's got people walking along a street.
Typically, if I didn't read a book, I won't even look at the covers, so I don't even include it.
Yeah. But it's got Deadman going through them, and he's like elongated and he's stepping through. It's like he's trying to get through this crowd as a ghost. And, no one's paying him any mind. I like that one. Absolute Superman has it's from Eric Canetti. And it's got Superman going down and doing like the superhero pose. But it's the way that the color is around him. It cuts into like blue. And then like the energy from him landing makes it red around the circle. It's a really cool image. Big fan of that. And then you already mentioned the Batgirl main cover, which I do love. But my pick is going to be the Dustin Wynn Batman variant. It's got, Verity holding the cowl on a platter, the cape over her, forearm, like she's a waiter, and it's really, really good. So
Verity getting both cover choices this week. That's
Yep.
Good for her.
Look at that.
All right. Next up, we got art of the week. What are you picking?
So here it's a little bit weird, because I like Ferreyra, but there's in Absolute Superman, but there's a couple things. I also Deadman. The art is really good, even though it kind of just meanders. Rod Reis for Supergirl Survive. But I feel like everything in Batman is so handled, even though it's like this, table setting, everything that Jiménez does in that book, I think really works. And that fight scene in the elevator, I think is really handled really well. So I'm going to give it to Jiménez.
Yeah, it's very good. It's tough. Yeah, shout out to Supergirl Survive, because I do think the art in that's very good. God. I feel like I like the overall look of Ferreyra a little bit more than Jiménez, but Jiménez didn't have any flaws this issue. So it's tough to pick. I think I'm still going to say Ferreyra. I think I'm still going to say Ferreyra. I think I like the overall aesthetic and the flow of the action. I still think clicks with me just a little bit more than Jiménez's, even though it did have that flaw with a couple of the Superman faces. So, but tough choice this week. All right, top 5 books of the week, Matt. On you go.
All right, 1 Absolute Superman, 2 Batman, 3 Batgirl, 4 Absolute Green Lantern, and 5 Supergirl Survive.
Okay.
I think. Actually, swap those last 2. Supergirl Survive and then Absolute Green Lantern.
All right. My number 1 is Absolute Superman. Number 2 is Batgirl. 3 is Supergirl Survive. 4 is Batman. And 5 is Absolute Green Lantern. So, yeah. There you go. I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. Next week we have Absolute Batman 23, Action Comics 1101. We have Barbara Gordon Breakout issue 4, Fury of Firestorm issue 5, Supergirl 16, Bleeding Hearts issue 7, Batman and Robin Year 1 Dynamic Duos issue 1, and we got Clayface Celebrity Dirt issue 2, Emperor Aquaman issue 20, Green Lantern Corps issue 19, Nice House by the Sea issue 11, and then there's also some facsimiles and reprints as usual. So yeah, beefy enough week for me. I've got 8 books. You've got maybe 1 more if you're still reading what were you still reading? Core, that's the one. But some juicy stuff though. Firestorm I'm really excited for. Worth mentioning that Supergirl is first, Action Comics is second as far as the crossover goes. So try and keep that in mind, everyone. If you're reading that. So, which is why it's actually kind of annoying that Supergirl didn't come out this week, because it would have been more even. But whatever.
Very much.
Hey ho, whatever. They're both out next week. Who am I to judge DC's infinite wisdom? Or let's be honest, something probably just pushed it and they didn't have a choice, but that's fine. Yeah.
Could literally be anything.
But we'll be obviously looking forward to that crossover, seeing how that is with all the Zod stuff next week. But that is the show. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Of course, you can support everything over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You get access to a couple of exclusive classic book reviews. We're working through both Gotham Central and Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. We've previously done Batgirl Year 1, so that's all there if you want to check out that one. Go have a look-see, get the show a little bit early. But thanks to everyone who does support the show. It does help everything and keep the show coming. You can also support us by liking, subscribing on YouTube, giving us 5 stars in your podcast app, all that usual stuff as well. But that is the show. That has been Comics from the Multiverse. So we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for joining us once again. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.